Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Cooper Brothers Entertainment. Today we got a pretty good show. We're going to talk about Jurassic Park. We're going to talk a little bit of Harry Potter, and quite frankly, it's a nice day in Florida today. How about you, Thomas?
Oh, it is actually pretty shit day here in Chicago so far. I think the sun is out, but it's cold. I mean, my our puppy woke me up at like 5:30 a.m. Not even 5:30, like 4:30 a.m. I'm sorry, and was like, "Let me go out." And I'm like, "Oh, fucking a, okay, fine." So I took him out. It was cold as shit. It was super nice the other day, and today is just like 20 something degrees. At least at 4:30 in the morning. I haven't been out since then, but it was cold. So.
Damn. So you're like hoodie weather like year round, right?
Oh, no. It gets pretty hot here. Well,
Really?
it can get warm. It doesn't get as hot as it was in Florida, like Tallahassee and shit, where it was just dead, no wind, like 100 degrees. It doesn't really get that way here. Everybody who complains it's hot here, I'm like, man, it's like 89. This feels pretty. It's still nice. Like it gets warm. Like it definitely gets to shorts and t-shirt kind of weather. It's really the wind that makes it colder.
No, I've never been to Chicago. Never really felt the need to go. I know a couple people over there, including you, but
It's a cool place.
I feel like if anything, I'd just like stay with you for a few days and then I don't know. We probably just get drunk or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it ain't bad. I mean, really, that's all there's stuff to do, but what most people do up here is it's just food. There's a lot of different kinds of food up here, and
I want the pizza so bad.
pizza's pretty good. Talk to me later. I'll probably say some hot takes on my opinions on the who's got good pizza in this city, because everybody will tell you it's Lou Malinotti's or Giordano's, and I don't agree with anyone because they're just big ass pizza chains that ain't that great.
Hey, we
Compared
already
to
got
other
Sal in the
places.
chat. What's up, Sal? I
Hey,
know.
Sal.
About time. I know. We were pre-show prepping a little bit, so
Yeah, gotta hype each other up.
we're getting our articles and shit. That ain't pizza.
Yeah, that's a take. It's definitely not to make this the pizza cast or anything like that, but it's definitely like I gotta be in the mood for it. You're not ordering it like you are like New York style pizza or even like Little Caesars or some kind of normal like regular fast food pizza. Like I don't know, I just don't order it that much because it's not worth it all the time.
It just looks so heavy, and like I don't
It
know if
is.
I don't know if I could eat that all the time.
Oh hell no! It's honestly, you get the pizza and then it's just like two slices and you're done at most. Like that's like if you're hungry, and then like you just save it. At least that's what I do. I usually just have it, and I'm like, okay, cool. I can eat like one slice for lunch, and I'm pretty much covered through like the rest of the day. It's some heavy shit. It's like a casserole basically.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
So like the average person in Chicago, or is it like full on Chicago pizza is the best, or is it like, it's not that great. It's good, but it's not. I mean,
I've yet to meet anybody who's like, "Oh my god, Chicago pizza is the best thing in the world." It's like, nah, it's just like, yeah, we have pizza, and like it's more of a, when you get like Sal's comment about like that ain't pizza, that's where people get defensive because it's like, nah, fuck you. But like when it comes to like what's better, like New York pizza or Chicago pizza, the majority of the time it's just like you can't compare them. Like it's just two completely different things for two completely different situations. Like we live above a New York style place, and like we'll get that when we just want some pizza. But if you're like, damn, I'm hungry and I could go with like some strange Italian cake thing pizza, like yeah, I'll order like Chicago pizza or something like that. But yeah, no, it just depends what you're in the mood for. I mean, it's good, but it's filling, and but people like it. It's sort of that like staple that and Portillo's hot dogs and stuff like that.
man, I'm so damn hungry right now. Haven't eaten anything for breakfast yet. Fuck.
Nah, I had some cereal.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking a little bit of Jurassic Park, a little bit of Harry Potter, and kind of discuss where we're at with the franchises, how everything's going so far. I mean, we're well into both of them, but as far as new movies goes, we're gonna see, how we feel about the new ones coming out and any future development with some of the movies or anything really to do with the franchises. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off with Jurassic Park. So basically, Jurassic Park has a new movie coming out called, was it Dominion?
I think it's Dominion. Yeah, Jurassic World Dominion. I believe that's the
Yeah,
name.
yeah, Jurassic World Dominion. So um, that aside, we got that movie coming out. I think it's next year. I want to say.
Yeah,
Let me see.
2021 is totally when it's coming out.
Yeah, next summer. So we got plenty of time. So we'll talk about that in a second. But as far as the franchise and the series as a whole, I mean, you're a huge Jurassic Park fan.
Oh
I've
yeah,
known you.
man.
We've known each other since we were kids. So, and you've always had a Jurassic Park shirt in your closet.
Definitely. I
You've
still
always had
do.
that in your rotation, man. So,
No,
um,
I mean that was that was like the movie that weirdly, I guess you could say, like start. Even though I don't do paleontology, like it started me in that direction. And I mean, like it was just that thing where I was like, I watched it when I was like, had to have watched it when I was like really, really, really young, and it was just like I was one of those kids that was super into dinosaurs, and like I could say all their names and shit, and it was cool. But like that growing up, and then shit, I probably was like, I don't know. Even though like I didn't even know that they made a second one when they made a third one. Like when the third one came out was when I found out there was a second one because I just never, I don't know, like I just never really paid attention to it. And I just remember like Jurassic Park 3 is coming out, and I was like, wait, what happened in like Jurassic Park 2? And it was just like, oh yeah, actually like we did that a while like in I think it's like 96, 97, and I was like, wait a minute, what? Like why don't I remember that coming out? Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the Jurassic Park movies. The Jurassic World movies, I remember going like, man, I really like like when I first saw Jurassic World, um I thought it was great. Like I was like, this is so great. Like I'm so yeah, 97 is when Lost World came out. But I remember thinking like, oh man, this is so fucking cool. And then just like being kind of, watching it again and going, wait a minute. And then watching like Fallen Kingdom and just kind of going, I mean, it's sort of my similar take with as far as my like exiting the theater upon finishing as a Last Jedi, where I'm like, you know what? I don't think I like that very much. Like, I
dude,
just don't. You walk out and I'm just like, I don't think it was. I didn't like it, and I
I was
didn't. I didn't.
roasting that movie when I was watching it, The Fallen Kingdom. Oh my god. I
Eh.
went with one of my buddies here in town and we just we just torched that fucking movie in the theaters. We were talking so much shit and my girlfriend was like, "Stop. I
Huh.
like this movie." I'm like, "Ah."
Yeah, I think I don't remember if I said this on the show or to you the other day, but I mean, my wife and I were watching the Jurassic Park movies the other day, like just kind of going through them all over the course of a couple days or so, and we got to we got to Fallen Kingdom, and we like maybe finished like 70% of it, and then it's like late, and we were just like, yeah, I'm going to bed. And I was like, do you want to watch it tomorrow? And she's like, nah, we know how it ends. And I'm like, yeah, I agree, we're done.
The I personally I love Jurassic Park. The first one was amazing, and it always will be,
Oh
and
yeah.
such a huge staple in movie history and culture, and especially the type of culture that we're invested in. And it's been such a huge been such a huge part of our lives since we grew up in the early 2000s. You were born in 94, I was born in 95, so
No, I was born in 93, son.
or 93, never mind.
But
But
yeah, yeah, either way, I mean, it just was one of those things where it was already, abundant by the time we were born. But Jurassic Park is such like a weirdly perfect movie. Like the CGI maybe now is starting to show its age, but
it
all
does a
in
little bit,
all,
but yeah,
but I mean, how
overall,
long has it been? It's been almost 30 years since that
yeah,
movie came out, and it's just now starting to be like, yeah, maybe we could made it could look better, but like for the past 30 years it's looked great. And I mean, it's so small. Like the CGI usage back then was so minimal that it's like not a big deal.
They use so many practical effects and it still holds up. Like you see that giant ass T-Rex, or you see the Velociraptor heads,
Mm-hmm.
how they move and blink and how they twitch and
No,
the
it's
sounds they
great.
make. And it's so cool. And there's not many movies like that. Unfortunately, not many make practical effects that great anymore. But and
Yeah.
you see that through the series. Jurassic Park 1 was great. Lost World,
Mhm.
uh, I'm sitting there with you, Sal. I'm not a huge fan of it. There's parts of it that I love, and if they went a different direction than bringing a T-Rex to San Diego, yeah, I'd be down. But I love I love when they're like walking through the jungle,
Yeah.
walking through the island, and it's nice and sunny, and you see all the nice trees and everything. You see the dinosaurs kind of just roaming around and doing their thing.
I think
And
Lost World is such a tough one because I try to like put my head for when I'm watching a movie a lot of the time I try to put my head in like what what was it like when it came out to see it just after the first one. And I'm like, this movie is pretty fucking cool coming after the first one because like you have in the first movie it's just like, okay, yeah, we're in like a theme park, right? It's like the
mhm,
book. But in
yeah,
Lost World's like we're just in a jungle with dinosaurs in it. We're seeing them like in the wild. And I'm like, well, that's kind of that from, going straight from Jurassic Park to Lost World, like that's pretty crazy. And then it's like, oh yeah, what would happen if a dinosaur was thrown into like a big city? And it's like, whoa, this is something. But
they crammed too much in Lost World. If they just stayed on the island and just did shit like that, that would have been cool. And then save the whole dinosaur in a city thing for or for the third one. I mean, that would have been
and
cool.
I think that's the big problem and kind of I think one of the reasons I don't like Fallen Kingdom is because that's how what you described is how I feel about Fallen Kingdom. Like
They
it was
backtrack a
way
little bit.
well, it was just that there's so much instead of like the one thing that Lost World kept consistent was it kept a relatively large setting to me. So like we have an entire island or like an entire city. Whereas Fallen Kingdom was like we start out on this island and we're running around doing shit. And then we're like, okay, never mind. Let's go to this singular mansion in the middle of somewhere. I want to say like New York or something like that. And it's just like we're fucking around with dinosaurs in a house. And I was just kind of like, this is weird. Like it just felt too small. Like it kind of killed it because it's like these dinosaurs are supposed to both figuratively and literally be larger than life, yet we see them just kind of locked in cages in somebody's basement. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it was
weird.
one of those. It was like they tried making it like a horror movie vibe to it.
Which could have
It's
been
like
so
you're in a
fucking cool.
yeah, you're in a creepy mansion. There's dinosaurs, and then you have this one big dangerous dinosaur that they're trying to like sell in the black market. And it's like
Right.
it seems just so odd. It doesn't nothing flowed in that movie.
It's because it
Everything
was
was just
three
so
different
forced.
things.
Yeah, everything was so forced and written
Yep.
terribly. The
Yep.
dialogue was ass. The characters, none of them made sense at all. They're all
No.
stupid. They all did dumb shit. Chris Pratt's the best part of the movie, and even his character is retarded. So
But I mean, like, that's the thing I hated about it, is like nobody's character was any kind of anything. They were just sort of like hollow nothings of what they were in the first one, or just hollow nothings of something. Like that kid really should have been a lot more front and center in Fallen Kingdom. I mean, the movie ends up being weirdly about her. So I'm kind of like, and this was my complaint with Star Wars, I think, on the last show, was just like, why are you making this about someone that you're barely focusing on? Like you watch Chris Pratt beat people up longer than she has screen time. Yet at the end of the day, the movie's all about her. And I'm just like, Chris Pratt was more interesting in the first movie because there was just a lot more of a character there. In this one, he's just like, I'm here to beat people up and save everybody. And I'm like, well, this is just boring. Like, you're not anything. You're just there to punch people.
I think the best thing they did in these new movies is just put the dinosaurs on screen. That's all you have to do. You want to make a cool movie, Jurassic Park, make cool dinosaurs. All right, you got the first step down. Step two,
Yeah.
make good human characters. Okay, how do we do that?
You have a
Well, I don't
fucking
know. Like,
opening like you do in Jurassic fucking Park. That's what you do. You open it up where you introduce your characters and their dynamic. Like right
and they
off in
don't
the
do that.
first, exactly in the first 15 minutes of Jurassic Park, you get introduced to Alan Grant and Ellie. And both of them, it's like clear they're a couple. It's clear they have this contention about like wanting kids. It's clear that he's like super fucking smart and doesn't like kids, and she does. He leads a dig. She works on the dig. They're both also interested in testing new technology. They're like kind of strapped for cash. Like, you know, they're struggling with that.
Yeah,
Then
they're trying
out
to
of the
fund their
blue,
project and everything, and then they finally, out of the
right,
blue, you know,
get you know, this guy falls on their laps and he's like, hey, I'll give you fucking money. My biggest gripe about Jurassic Park is that motherfucker saying I know my way around a kitchen and there's a shit ton of goddamn champagne flutes sitting on top of a microwave, and you know what he pours that champagne in? Fucking water glasses. Like he just pours in a goddamn water glass. And I'm like, you know what a champagne flute is, dude. You're rich enough to do that. I know my way around a kitchen, my ass. You don't know shit. But but see, that all is like the first 15 minutes of this movie. And you get all of that. In Jurassic World, the first 15 minutes are just showing you these two kids and like
they're
their
awful.
daily life. And the most you get at, I know, I really don't like the kids. Like they do funny shit. There's that one funny scene where it's like hold hands and he just like very quietly like grabs the brother's hand. I laughed at that when I first saw it. But aside from that, I'm like the first 15 minutes of this movie is just the random. I think it's the Indominus Rex is born, which is a weird way to start this movie because it immediately jumps to the family and then they go on a trip. And all you really get out of it is that Jurassic Park is open and this family is getting a divorce. And that they're a pretty stereotypical family,
It's
right?
it's so well, that lady, that she's a mom in every single movie,
She's fun and it's hilarious.
and she's in that shitty new
I love
Halloween
it.
movie, and it's just
Oh, I
like I
never
can't.
saw that.
She's also in Ant-Man, and it's
Oh yeah,
like
she is an Ant-Man. I just
I
can't
can't
get over
stand her.
not hearing. I can't get over not hearing like you're not my supervisor. Like I don't know if and I don't know if you watch Archer. If anybody who's on the stream right now watches Archer, but I have just a whole different take on that actress just because it's like that's all I hear throughout all of Ant-Man. That's all I heard, um, and just all the jokes that come with Cheryl in that
Which one
movie.
does she
But
play?
she plays Cheryl, Carol, Charlene. Depends on
Oh,
what season you're on, but
okay.
it's all the same person. Um, but yeah, no, I don't. Jurassic World is just like you don't really do anything, and then Jurassic or yeah, Fallen Kingdom is just sort of again, it's like the movies don't know how to they want to start. Um, they just kind of go, yeah, like let's start with like Jeff Goldblum at like talking to Congress. I'm like, okay, it's like never mind. Let's like restart our movie with Jessica Chastain. This is Jessica Chastain, right? Am I wrong? No, it's not.
No, it's
It's crap. Bryce Dallas Howard.
yeah.
So like let's start with Bryce Dallas Howard, like and her Save the Dinosaurs group doing Save the Dinosaurs stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess that shows some character growth because like in the first movie she was, you know, I'm not really about like, these dinosaurs are just a commodity, and now it's like let's save the dinosaurs. And I'm like, okay, like character changes, cool. Introduce the kid from Detective Pikachu and the veterinarian girl, like that's fine. But you know, all in all, it just doesn't really amount to anything. Like it just doesn't like where is that group by the end of the movie?
Like she Bryce Dallas Howard is so ingenuine in these new movies. It's like you actually want me to believe that she cares about dinosaurs and researching how dinosaurs adapt to their environment,
Mm-hmm.
researching how to 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 have more dinosaurs and to basically improve their way of living in that facility. You're expecting me to believe that she's the same as Sam Neill's character. No,
Well, I
you're
think you're
fucking
supposed
wrong.
to. And this is where like the movie starts falling apart, right? Is you start trying to have parallels where there aren't any. So like in the first one, she's the same as Laura Dern's character, She's supposed to be like Laura Dern's
Laura
character.
Dern cared way more about the dinosaurs than she does.
Exactly. That's the problem.
She's literally just wearing a white suit, running around the fucking island in heels. And you're like, are you kidding me right now?
Right. And this is the problem I have is like in the first movie, actually like Bryce Dallas Howard's
Bryce Dallas
character,
Coward.
Bryce Dallas character Howard, whatever. She was actually great. I liked in the first one because it was just like you're supposed to be that kind of like cold, I don't care about these things. I mean, she could have really laid into it more, I think, but I mean, for what was there, it was fine because like you're supposed to really not care about these animals. You don't view them as like a living thing, and that kind of turns around once you do the whole brachiosaur thing. Okay, cool, like that's fine, but to go from like I don't, give a shit about these characters to like 1 year later going, yeah, I'm like all in on like saving them. I don't know, like I kind of wouldn't mind some like little angle of just maybe she's in it for herself. She did run this company, like or this theme park. It would look really good for her to like save the dinosaurs because it would save her a ton of money or some shit. Like I'm kind of shocked we didn't get like a corrupt rich person vibe as opposed to this like altruistic hero. I'm
But
kind
it's
of
like,
more and just like the fact that Chris Pratt is like, fuck this shit, I'm leaving. I'm like, I don't believe that. It's like I want them to be reversed almost.
like how shitty of it is for you to make your movie centered around this like fucking businesswoman that has no desire at all to be around a dinosaur, other than putting it in a cage and then letting people pay you money. It's like, why are you centering the movie around this lady? This lady sucks, and Chris Pratt's character is cool, but in the second one they make him out to be a fucking idiot, and it's like you cannot be serious right now. Like
Well,
that was one of the things that
they just make him a muscly moron. That's it. Like that's
that
all
that's
he
just
serves a purpose for in the
that's
second movie,
fucking
and it's
bullshit. And
annoying.
it's like, are you kidding me? He was actually pretty cool in the first one. Then the second one comes around, it's like, nah, we're gonna make him Star Lord. Like
It's
what?
exactly that's
Like why?
exactly what it was. It
Why
was, oh
he's
man, they were so good. Let's make him fucking Star Lord. And the only reason I tell you why, man, the reason they did it, make another movie about different people. Like think of Jurassic Park and The Lost World. The only reoccurring character in there pretty much is Jeff Goldblum's character, who
yeah.
is like third build or something in that movie. Like he's kind of, as far as main characters go, it's like Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and then Jeff Goldblum, and then you have everybody else. So it's like, let's give Jeff Goldblum a movie. Okay, cool. Like I'm watching this kind of character who wasn't a main character, who laid down for the majority of this movie, do something else. That's fine. I'm not being forced, like you're not writing a movie that forces you to figure out, okay, I have these famous people. They were characters in my other movie. Let's figure something out for them to do. And that's what this felt like. Was it's like, well, what could Bryce Dallas Howard be doing now? Like, obviously she's not running the park anymore. So let's make her do the opposite of that. And it's like, okay. I guess I could believe that. Like her character did kind of bond with the dinosaurs and stuff at the end. So maybe that's there. And it's like, oh yeah, Chris Pratt's going to be like living in the middle of nowhere and he doesn't give a shit about the animals anymore. It's like, well, wasn't he really close to that one velociraptor and like kind of bonded with them and made like a family out of it almost? Like, yeah, but he doesn't care. He's just going to be there to beat people up. It's like, well, why is he in this movie at all? Like, what's going on? It's like, oh, we need him there because Guardians 2 just came out and people are going to love this shit to see him again. And that's it. And it's annoying because it's like you're writing a movie around your actors, not around what you actually want to write a movie about. And that's why this comes off as like 2 to 3 different movies just smashed together. To me,
It,
anyway.
the first Jurassic World.
Yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
the second one. The second one's how that one goes. The first one was more just like everybody kind of has their characters going on. I would have even been cool if like if Fallen Kingdom was maybe a little bit more in the future. Have that kid be doing something. Like give that kid from the first one something to do. He seemed like they were gonna, do. It's kind of like the first Jurassic Park, right? It's like you seem like the kid who knows all the shit about the dinosaurs is gonna do something in future movies, and then they just kind of don't.
Yeah, I was really thrown off by that because I was like, it's John Hammond's grandkids. Like, why would they not have anything to do with this shit like later on? Like, I'm sure the girl was probably scarred, but I'm sure the the little boy was probably like, "Oh shit, scary," but I still love dinosaurs. But
Right.
and I could and if they did a dynamic where it's like the brother likes dinosaurs and wants to continue working on the park, but the daughters or the sisters like they shouldn't be allowed. And if they had that dynamic where she was like they shouldn't be allowed in public or whatever in society, and it's like, oh, okay, that would be a cool dynamic,
You know,
brother versus the sister.
it'd be
But
really cool if that's the angle they took with the first one, was just like the two kids think, we were there. We were there when it all went to shit. We could totally do what our grandpa did better. And they inherit John Hammond's fortune and shit, and they do it. I mean, you probably had problem where like you didn't want those actors didn't want to come back for it or whatever. And yeah, that's where you kind of have to write your movie around your actors. You don't get a choice. But I mean, like, it'd be kind of cool if they were like, no, we can do it better. And like, for the most part, in the first movie, they do. And then it goes like belly up and everything gets fucked up. And yeah, if you're gonna have like Bryce Dallas, I mean, shit, just have Bryce Dallas Howard play the girl if you want. I mean, I don't know, like, you do whatever you want with it. But I guess it's just like the first movie, you have these characters set up, and by the second movie, it seems like a lot of growth happened off screen that would have been really beneficial to see, like her loving the dinosaurs and Chris Pratt stopping caring about the dinosaurs. Like, those two things would have been kind of cool to like see what made them do that. Because I don't know, I just don't buy it. Like, I just don't buy their character development because I don't see it. And then by the majority of the movie's just spent with action sequences of doing a bunch of random shit while stuff blows up. And that's it. And I'm like, well, this isn't much of a movie. It's more just like, again, a spectacle of shit.
no, I don't buy really anything in the new movies. The other movie, you could be like, all right, I can see Sam Neill, and you can see his relationship with Laura Dern and
Yeah.
how it's kind of crumbling apart throughout the first movie. Um, then you can, you get Jurassic World or Jurassic Park 2, and it's like you got Jeff Goldblum and you got what's his name? Wedding Crasher, old school
Oh,
guy.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah. So it's a little weird, but you're like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, you have a
Um,
weird group of characters in that.
yeah.
Julianne Moore, Jeff Goldblum, Vince Vaughn. It's an interesting cast in that movie, and I think like that's one of the reasons. Checkmark, thumbs up, because it's just like, this is a weird cast and it works and I dig it. But
The
yeah,
whole
like, I
the
can see
whole
why people don't
T-Rex
like
in the
it.
city thing was weird. But then you get Jurassic Park 3, which we didn't really talk about hardly. But
Jurassic Park
that movie
3.
is very underrated. Like people always like give a shit. It's like, oh, you have the Jurassic or have the Velociraptor, like saying Alan, Alan. It's like it's a
Oh, I think it's
dream.
fucking hilarious
It's a
personally.
dream. Like I
I
don't know
always
why
thought
people
it was
bash it.
funny. I always thought it was funny because it's so cheesy, whether it's a dream or not. It's just a cheesy thing to have. But I think I always thought it was like, innocently funny every time, ever
Yeah,
since I saw it when I was a kid, because he's just like, Alan, and I'm like, what the fuck? And like, then he wakes up, and I guess the movie plays that scene to be like so fucking terrifying, when in reality I would just be like, what the shit? And then like wake up and there's not a raptor there. I think Jurassic Park 3, like, in hindsight, now that we've had World and Fallen Kingdom, like, it's just not as bad as I think we wanted to believe it was. It's
it's not
definitely
near as bad.
not.
No,
It's I still think it's a 1, 2, 3 order for me.
me
Just
too.
because it's I like 2. 1 is a classic. 3 is kind of a cash grab, and it had a different director, and it's clearly like just it has a different feel. It's a completely different movie, which could be good or could be bad, but all
I
in
think
all,
3
like,
is way better than 2.
I don't think so. I think 3 is just it's the first half of 2, all first half of 2 with less people. It's
I
just
like
them
the
running
fact
around.
that they're actually on the island running from their lives from fucking raptors, T-Rexes, Spinosauruses, and they're trying to just make their way to the beach and try to call help.
Oh yeah,
And
no, it's not
now
bad.
the way they got there, oh, it's retarded because okay, you're gonna go look for this kid, but you're gonna lie to one of the best dinosaur professionals in the world and rescue this kid on an island that you don't even know, and it's not even the same island that the guy that you brought along and lied to was on. and
Yeah,
you're gonna
it's
get
a
off the
little weird.
plane on the runway. Somehow there's a runway there. Like I don't
Well, yeah,
understand that.
because they're moving the dinosaurs off the island. It's the same island from the second one.
It's just like, oh, is it? Okay, I always
Yeah,
forgot
no,
about that.
they're remember like Hammond says in the second one that that Isla Sorna is the one where you're breeding the dinosaurs and you're just moving them to Isla Nublar
Okay,
to like show them off. So I mean, I assume they're flying them or
yeah,
boating them or something.
but either way, it's like, okay, you're gonna get off the plane. What's the first thing you don't do? Make a lot of noise,
Well, the first thing you
and they
don't do
start
is knock
screaming.
out the guy that like you fucking asked for help and
Yeah,
then land a plane and then start doing shit.
yeah, and you start like yelling and screaming, and it's like, okay, that's not going to help you. That island's huge. There's no way that kid is right there. There's no way. So what the fuck? Like, and then they get
Oh,
into
agreed.
trouble, and then the Spinosaurus fucks everything up and crashes the plane, and it's just other than that, like the whole we're gonna go and rescue my son and then scream. Besides that, movie's cool because it's just them trying to survive, and they're getting hunted by these velociraptors, and the Spinosaurus always keeps running into them.
I kind of wish it the movie. I mean, I know that that's, at the time, especially, it was sort of like, we're going to do it this way. Like, we're going to have the new big bad. It's not going to be the T-Rex anymore. Like, it's going to be the Spinosaurus. I kind of wish it was just the Raptors. Like, have the Spinosaurus. You can't get rid of it, but it's like, make it more about. I would have liked it if we angled more on the Raptors actively like hunting them down, because that was the cool part to me, because that was the point. They're like, all these things are after us because of these stupid eggs, and I'm like, I don't know if everything be after you because of these eggs, but the Raptors definitely would, and that's kind of fucking cool. Like, if steadily the Raptors were like picking them off, kind of like they do, but just more of like an active, they're going through actively hunting them down, very like, and you show off their intelligence they keep going on about, and they're like coordinating the hunt and all this shit. But even that movie, I'll say, does a better job in their setup than Jurassic World and shit do. Because how's Jurassic 3? Jurassic 3 starts with the parasailing thing.
Yeah, it's the kid and his uncle, and they're parasailing near
Bro,
the
what are you talking
island.
about, dude? That's his mom's boyfriend.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it.
Which was a weird choice. I think Uncle makes a hell of a lot more sense. But
I
yeah.
thought okay, I thought it was the uncle for a second. I totally forgot that it because you don't even really see him hardly. You see him in
Oh
like the
yeah.
first scene a little bit, and then he dies, and you're like,
I don't know if
cool.
if I was that kid and my mom's boyfriend was like, I'm gonna take you parasailing down this dinosaur island, I'd be like, dude, that can't possibly be fucking legal. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, here's the
No.
thing, like all like jokes aside from him like parasailing and everything, like they think dinosaurs are cool. The Fallen Kingdom movie, bro, they're just like, oh, we can't imagine a world without dinosaurs. I'm like we can't imagine.
That part
I can't
bothered the
imagine our
shit
kids.
out of
I
me.
can't imagine a world where our kids can't live with dinosaurs. It's like, sure you can. I fucking did it.
I
Just
mean,
look at
and
pictures.
that's the problem, is
Go
this
play with
movie
toys. Like,
this movie takes into account, like, or Fallen Kingdom and I guess Jurassic World take into account like the real time difference, at least between the first Jurassic Park movie and Jurassic World. And like, that's annoying as fuck, because it's like, that's like over 20 years of shit, of like basically these dinosaurs not being around. And like, you had this horrible, everyone knows about it incident occurred, Jurassic Park, and then maybe two more incidences occurred in Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. And then you're like, let's build a fucking theme park again. Like, we'll do it right. And at minimum, what, you have a handful of years going on? Because like, the kids, like, they started out with X amount of species, and now they only have maybe like 10 more, 20 more than they did before. And I'm just sort of like, well, given the time it took to clone them all in the first place, I mean, you maybe only have like, at most, man, like 10 years of this park. So you're basically saying, oh man, all these 10-year-olds have never known a world without dinosaurs, even though they're on one island in a theme park. That's like saying these kids have never known a world without Mickey Mouse. God forbid he get blown up by a volcano and never exist again. Like, I don't know, if Mickey Mouse like suddenly dropped off the face of the planet, I don't think the world would be like in shambles, you know? I mean, sure, like you'd have sort of a cultural thing disappear, but it's like, and it would affect things, but I don't think like every child would suddenly like want to throw themselves off a bridge or some shit because Mickey Mouse isn't around anymore. And I mean, like dinosaurs are really cool, but something that Jurassic World kind of notes pretty well is like, yeah, making a dinosaur super cool, but people don't really care anymore. Like it was cool for a minute and now they have it and now they don't care. And I'm like, there you go. You're kind of describing these movies of like, we got Jurassic Park and it was fucking awesome because you get to see dinosaurs, like real well produced dinosaurs. Then Lost, what happened? You could see dinosaurs in sort of kind of their natural habitat. And then by Jurassic Park 3, you're kind of like, oh, it's just dinosaurs again. And then Jurassic World, you're like, oh, hey, you remember how you guys said, like, oh, it's just dinosaurs again? Like, we're going to make a new dinosaur. And it's like, okay, that's cool, guess. And it was all right. But, you know, it's just kind of one of these things where it's like, who cares? You know, like these kids lose their dinosaurs. I mean, it's not like it didn't happen. I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing to focus on.
Yeah, it's just I don't understand where they're going with the series. Like, do you want to be a dinosaur movie? Do you want to be a sci-fi movie? Do you want to be
That's a good point.
an action movie? Do you want to be a horror movie? Take like fucking pick one. Like pick one and add hints of another one if you want.
Dude,
But
that's a really good point because
but
that's
don't
how I feel about Fallen
don't
Kingdom.
don't fucking put dinosaurs and then start mutating dinosaurs and then try to make it about cloning. You're like, what? Like cloning human?
Right.
It's like,
Like,
wait, slow down. So you're telling me that this Dallas Howard character has this some sort of foundation to where they save dinosaurs, but only she has seen a dinosaur in real life. Okay. So
yeah, that was the other weird thing
all
was
these
like
people, all these people are getting funding from you're getting funding from where and how are you helping the dinosaurs? You're stationed in the city and you're asking for money. How are you helping the dinosaurs? Are
well,
you just prepping for something? Because I don't see you guys get together supplies and anything to go to the island. I see you guys just sitting in an office being hipsters, or they're all dressed like hipsters and just fucking. It looks like the fucking BuzzFeed office, like bunch of early 20s, like late teens, like just making phone calls.
I
Okay,
mean, I'm
cool.
under the assumption that like Bryce Dallas Howard is loaded as fuck. Well, was loaded as fuck in
She's
the
probably
first
still
movie.
loaded.
I mean, I would assume like she's business savvy enough to protect that stuff
But
in,
what
you
are you
know,
trying to do?
those kinds of things. But like,
You're trying to protect things that tried killing you in the first movie? Oh, okay. Makes total sense. How about you drop the whole fucking spiel and then just go live your life, move on.
my problem is
Go
not.
spend time with your family that they bitched and complained about that you don't even see them. How
Dude,
about you
where the
do
fuck
that?
is her family? Like, they made this whole point to be like, look how much family matters. It looks like David Wallace and Cheryl might actually stay together. And it's like, okay, cool. And then it's just like, okay, goodbye, future franchise. Like, we're done with this. It's like, well, why doesn't she even like text them or something? I think, as far as the funding thing goes, I think she's paying for it. And in the beginning of the movie, they're not asking for money as much as it seems like they're asking Congress people to like help with an
Well, she's
argument. It
well, you
seemed
see a
really
phone call.
weird.
You see a phone call with her, and she's trying to get a fucking donation, and she's trying to like convince this person, like, "Hey,
No, she's trying to
Kenny,
convince her to hold up a bit that bill that Jeff Goldblum's talking about in the beginning of the movie.
no,
She,
she's in the office and she's making a phone call to some.
oh,
She's talking on the phone to some person, and she's like,
because then she comes
"We
out and
would,
she's like, "Oh yeah, they promised to do whatever. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
yeah." She's like, "Yeah, we'd love your support and everything," and
Yeah."
she's just trying to like get these people to like give him money. It's like,
But like, yeah, you make
again,
a good point. What are you gonna do? Like with it, like what's your plan to save the dinosaurs? You can ask
and
for money all you want, but what are you doing?
you have that girl, the Rostico looking chick. It's like, oh, I'm a dinosaur expert.
She's a veterinarian, a paleo veterinarian. And this is
You've
where I got
never
really irritated because
You've
it's like,
never seen a dinosaur in real life. How
right.
are you this?
Like, at least have her say, like, I've seen dead ones in school or something. Like if we're going to make this a legitimate thing in this universe, which arguably makes total sense. You have a shit ton of dinosaurs. They've been there for like a decade. Like, yeah, okay, you would
But she's
need a
only
veterinarian for this, but they're like, she's never seen one.
she's in her 20s, okay? She probably I'm assuming she just got her degree or she's,
Right.
you
That's
know,
what I assume too.
she's not she's I don't think she's even 30. And you're telling
No.
me that you've been spending this time and you're an expert on how to heal dinosaurs. No fucking
I
way.
mean, I
That's
could
true.
totally no,
There's no
see, I
way.
could totally believe it. The angle because again, you have a world where like Jurassic Park would clearly be hiring veterinarians to fix their dinosaurs. Like you
But
would
she's never
have
even
to.
seen a dinosaur though. And it's
That's
like
my problem.
how
That right
how
there is
how
the
is this
exact issue I
how
have.
how do you see a dinosaur? How do you not see a dinosaur but go to school, get your stuff, and then you're suddenly an expert? That's like you didn't even know
Exactly.
how to give a T-Rex a blood transfusion,
Well, this is the thing that I had.
which is
That's the
also
problem
another
I
dumb
had.
scene.
Is like, yeah, that I don't know if that would make much sense, which is what irritated me.
None of this movie made sense at
Well,
all.
the thing, as far as the last thing I'll say about her character goes, is like I could believe it if she said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I've only seen like a cadaver of a dinosaur or something like that." Like that would make sense. Jurassic
That
Park
that
animals
would be
die,
that
they
would be
donate
fine.
them to schools. That's cool. But like she's never seen a dinosaur. Again, I could believe it. That opportunity's obviously pretty selective. You're only kind of in one spot for it. But her to just say, I've never seen a dinosaur, period. I mean, at least make it, I've never seen a living dinosaur. Like,
Well,
make it
like
a cadaver thing, and you've messed around with these dead dinosaurs to figure out your job. Because how, I mean, you got to dissect cats and shit when you're a veterinarian. You don't just go be a veterinarian, learn about it, or even a doctor, and never ever like touch a living or dead person or animal. Like, you don't get to do that. That's crazy.
it's bad enough that they can't even like develop their supporting characters, let alone their actual main characters. And you're
I
like,
was
okay,
disappointed in that too.
are you guys gonna do anything with this movie, or is this just to shut your brain off and watch it and then go, oh, dude, it was great? Like,
Yeah,
no.
dinosaurs and shit blew up or whatever. And that's how I felt that way too, because the her and the kid from Detective Pikachu, I'm like kind of interested in their
Oh
characters.
yeah, it is the
Who
same
are
guy.
they? Like, yeah, I'm like, I look at them, I'm like,
I totally
these are
forgot that was the same
two.
guy.
Yeah, I know, I totally did too until I saw it last. But I'm like, those two have like interesting skill sets. I'm kind of curious, why are they here? Like, where did they come from? What is their story? Oh, we're just going to focus on Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, who are arguably already developed and kind of done cooking characters, just not doing anything. And at most, like the kid is on the Detective Pikachu's only there to hack in the computers, which he's arguably like very good at. And like I'd be kind of curious just to again know what the heck his story is. And she's only there to help save Blue. Again, I would love to know more about like her deal. Was it that I'm gonna work at Jurassic Park and then it all went like belly up and she just kind of got stuck after like graduated with a degree that's like useless now, but it was super useful in like a month ago. Like what's her deal? Instead, it's like, oh, Chris Pratt's jaded because a van with him, and his ex girlfriend is trying to save dinosaurs because reasons. Like, I don't know. It just seems like a weird way to go about your movie. It makes it worse because Jeff Goldblum makes a really goddamn good argument in the beginning of this movie. He's like, we should let them die. We created them. They weren't supposed to be here. A natural event is going to wipe them out. If you're religious, this is God taking care of it. If you're not, it's just a natural event. It's where they live. It's kind of what happened the first time to these dinosaurs. I mean, it's a course correction. Just let it fucking happen. And it's like, no, we got to save them. And I'm kind of like, I agree with Jeff Goldblum. This sounds like
Exactly.
a bad idea.
Exactly. Like Bryce Dallas Howard was almost killed by multiple dinosaurs in the
And
first
then,
movie. How is this not enough to convince you to just let him be? Chris Pratt went through the same thing, and he was on the same side as Jeff Goldblum. He's like, just let him fucking die. Like
right. And
it's
he
like
was like bonding with one of like he lived like he raised one of these animals and he was just like, look, they gotta go. Like they had their shot, they're done. Like it, these are animals. And I think that all culminates in that fucking short film they released like earlier this year, last year, whatever it was, where it's like, I don't know if you watched it, that battle at Big Rock or whatever the heck it's called. Um, where it's like a family camping, and it's like there we are now living in, as fallen, spoilers for Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom ends where, dinosaurs are now just allowed to roam the planet and shit. Okay, whatever. But now it's like you have a world where people have to be aware of dinosaurs as everyday animals. So aside from like the ecological problems of, you now have what are probably apex predators just killing everything and like wiping out entire ecosystems, you gotta have people deal with this. And I liked the short film thing because it was kind of cool to be like, hey, here's this like 10-minute film of, this is what it would be like if you were camping in the woods and like dinosaurs were a factor in your camping. It's not bears, it's like fucking dinosaurs. And like it was pretty crazy. Like shit got nuts. And I think at the end of it, it's like a kid shoots one of the dinosaurs with a crossbow or something like that. I don't remember what the fuck happened. But it was cool. And all I could think was like, if this is the kind of shit the third movie's about, I could get behind it. Like I could get behind it if it's like, okay, we now have to see a world where like shit kind of maybe went backwards a little bit. People are trying to navigate how the fuck do we deal with this, but at the same time, we kind of already have been doing it for a minute, so we're used to pterodactyls flying around instead of pigeons or some shit. And I mean, like, if again, just double down. You got your movie. It's don't pull a Star Wars Episode 9. Just fucking double down on your crazy twist of a movie and just go for it. Lean into it. Let it be batshit nuts, and just give me something crazy to watch. Because again, at worst, it's a cheesy, hilarious movie. At best, it's something original that people gonna like. But yeah, and I think there's also that whole problem with like the lysine deficiency shit that they explained in the first movie. Like these dinosaurs should just kind of organically die, because they're not getting lysine anymore. So
It's similar to
fuck.
like clones in Star Wars. Like they're gonna die quickly because they age rapidly. So if they don't die in battle, they're just kind of age real quick and then wither away.
Well, the weird thing,
But it
now that
just doesn't make.
you bring up like people clones. This movie, I meant to say this earlier when you were talking about it, the how this movie took the sci-fi angle a little too much for what it was doing. It just like it's like a movie that's years too early because it's almost like a movie talking about clones' rights. And I'm like, we're
Exactly.
not I mean, legally, we're not doing that. Like, we're not cloning. Well, who knows? Some people probably are, but like, we're not cloning people in the same way that this movie is, to where it's like, does this person have rights because it was cloned? It's like maybe that's something to talk about in like tens of years or something like that if it ever becomes a thing. But in 2019, we were not talking about cloning people and arguing about if they have rights or not. Like that wasn't a thing.
This was never meant to be a. It was meant to be dinosaurs and people having the technology to bring dinosaurs back, but in a real world with humans. Not, hey, we're gonna be just fucking cloning whatever, and we're gonna clone humans too, and we're gonna make these dinosaurs that are genetically modified and then use them as weapons, and then have a laser pointer, make a dinosaur go do this thing. It's like, wait, what?
See,
Hold on, whoa, whoa, what is happening here? It feels like
that's
we're in a
two
fucking
movies.
Stargate movie, and it's like, okay, calm down. This is supposed to be about dinosaurs. Okay. You want to
Mm-hmm.
help the dinosaurs. Okay. Go help the dinosaurs. Oh, you can't. Oh, well, go let them die. How about that? Sounds a lot better than, um, cloning a fucking kid and then, oh, it's your granddaughter. Nope, it's actually my daughter, but she don't fucking know that. It's like,
Honestly, this would have been such a cool movie if you took the horror angle, because like what you described is two separate movies. It's like you have your one movie where we're cloning all kinds of shit. And like at what point is this technology, which I think is what it was trying to do with my whole interpretation of like clones rights, and that's where it ended up going. But it's like you have all this technology, and this is what the whole book was about. This is what the whole first movie's about. At what point is it unethical anymore? And so like this dude cloning his daughter, like that is the ethical question. Like, is that okay? This guy was fully capable of basically reviving his daughter and like could do it. And then him and Hammond have a falling out about it. We barely talk about it in the movie, even though it seems to be like a weird central theme, but like we barely talk about it. And that is in itself a movie, arguably a movie that's already been done, but it's there. That's your movie somewhere else. I think this movie should be more like what you described was a horror movie, is like you go to the island. Your goal is to save the dinosaurs. You already have your like ticking clock that all these movies need, right? The volcano's going to blow up in like 4 days. Got to get all the dinosaurs off. You're on the island. As you're saving dinosaurs, you're finding that like InGen was cloning a lot of dinosaurs they weren't telling people about. And you're slowly having to fight off these dinosaurs, culminating in like a fuck ton of these Indoraptor, what's it call it, things that they specifically bred for a military purpose. Then those fuckers are like hunting Chris Pratt and friends or whatever. And they have to like make the decision to like kill or save them or whatever, or just stop them and let them die. Like, and you make it a horror angle, kind of like a slasher movie, but instead of Jason Voorhees, it's these fucking crazy black raptor things killing you, and they're super smart and whatever. And it's just like, that's your movie. You make a sort of horror thing with it and just keep it all on the island. Make it so that the raptors fuck up their escape route and they have 4 days to figure out how to get off before they all get blown to hell, along with all the dinosaurs.
That would be cool.
Right? And then your next movie is in the house with whatever, and this girl's a clone and the dinosaurs are the backdrop to everything, but like you have to kind of decide, like, is this girl, a person, is what you're kind of getting to, and like even her existence ethical to start with, and whatever. You can do that ethics movie. It's just another movie. It's not wrapped up in your weird horror action thing. And especially don't start it with Jeff Goldblum giving me a very reasonable argument as to why this movie shouldn't happen.
It. I don't know who directed this movie, like Fallen Kingdom.
I
Because it
don't
wasn't Colin
know.
Trevorrow. He had
No,
a
it was
role in
not.
it. Like, this is the same thing that Star Wars has a problem with. Use the same fucking director and the people that write the first one.
Or at least like have them on board.
Don't change your fucking crew just because you're making another movie in the series. Like, to have it fucking consistent.
Well,
And the first one, I could see them being like, okay, the park didn't fucking last long. Okay,
yeah.
this happened again. But where do you go from here? Do the dinosaurs stay there? If you want to try to help them, fine. But do a movie like you just said. Don't make it to where we're going to save the dinosaurs. Well, what's your motivation? We don't really have one. Okay.
We don't. People like dinosaurs. We don't want them. Also, I'm sorry, Jurassic Fallen Kingdom came out in 2018, but it was directed by J.A. Bayona, and Colin Trevorrow he has a writing credit for this movie. So, like, sadly, we're kind of wrong here. Like, he was involved.
I knew he was involved. I didn't know. I know he didn't direct it. I didn't know did he write it or just like
he has a writing credit for the movie. He's not the only one. There are other writers. So, I don't know how much like input he had, but he's like second build on writing.
So like, it's like nothing in this movie didn't really have anything to it as far as like no emotional value to it. It's like, you want to save the dinosaurs? Yes. Well, what's your reasoning? They're cool.
People like dinosaurs and they're neat. Yeah.
No, that is not what a grown adult businesswoman who has been almost eaten by dinosaurs is going to think. That's not realistic. Don't you dare say that. How about Chris Pratt is the one that wants to save him, and she's the one that's like, no.
Yeah, seriously, like that's what I feel like too. Is like I could believe Chris Pratt wanting to save them because he has an emotional bond, and her, like at best, she wants to save tied to these things, or like at worst, she's kind of like Laura Dern's character in 3, and is like, yo, I totally remember how horrific that experience is, and I don't want anything to do with these fuckers. Let them all die. Like that would be believable.
Or why don't they both say, no, they should both die? But then the government's like, hey, we need you to go and get these dinosaurs and bring back one of each species so we can test them and try to find a cure for diseases. Like,
you know what? That's your opening right there.
Like,
have
what
the
if paleo?
Paleo?
What if they're just like, we have this pandemic going on similar to now, And we're just like, we need to find a cure, and everything that we've researched so far is no good. So we need you to go down there. We would take these dinosaurs and we would try to find a cure using them, because regular frogs and everything, or lizards, whatever you use to make the dinosaurs, it ain't working. So you got to actually go and get the dinosaurs. That you would have some sort of reasoning to go back to the island, and they both would agree, hey, these dinosaurs are dangerous, they should probably die, but in this case we should probably try to bring back some samples
No,
or
you know what?
eggs or
That's
something.
perfect. That's because that's how you get your thing. Have the paleo veterinarian be leading this save the dinosaurs thing. First of all, have her be Bryce Dallas Howard's part in that, because that makes a hell of a lot more sense. Then you have her, tech guy is Detective Pikachu, and she goes to Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, who are still together but kind of at odds. This is their moment of like, we are at odds and butting heads about this. And she goes, look, we can we found that the genetic construct of the dinosaurs you made are like the way the DNA bonded together in a living organism has the potential to like cure cancer or some shit. And I did my like graduate thesis on it, and I did my whole veterinary thing on it, and I have like solid proof to back up this claim. But problem, I need a living sample from a dinosaur. You can't just reclone it, because of whatever Dr. Wu was doing in the first Jurassic World was super particular and like safeguarded. So we got to get there, and of course, only we need it from a specific species, which is the Velociraptor, of which there's only one, and it's blue, and that's why we need Chris Pratt. And like we go to the island to do this, and then you get your clock running with the whole fucking volcano, because it's like, look, it's gonna blow up in 4 days, and they go whatever. You go there, you're surviving for your life. Maybe do that horror thing I threw in earlier. You get your sample, or you know what? You don't get your sample and you come home. Like, that's your fucking movie right there. And it's interesting. You give new characters like some kind of weight and value, and then you still bring your old characters in because you actually create a need for them to be there. I mean, and plus, it's way more believable to me to be like some sciencey bullshit about the dinosaurs' DNA is going to cure cancer, as opposed to like, we should just save them because kids will be sad. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, if you did that, don't even make it a velociraptor, just make it
But I
a
just made the
dinosaur.
Raptor just because of Chris
Yeah.
Pratt. Like, it seems to be the theme they run with when they're putting Chris Pratt in these movies. It's like, well, the Raptors, and you're
Well,
the Raptor guy.
well, you can have him like run into the raptors. That would be cool, but like make it like a different dinosaur. Like make it a dinosaur we've seen,
Mm-hmm.
but make it a dinosaur that we don't really like get too much of. Like those water ones from the ride that have the funny head that like
Oh, the
go up and
Paracephalosauruses. Yeah, that'd be
yeah,
cool.
like have it be one of those, and they have to go down like the river or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually say they congregate in the middle of the island or something. Like that's
Yeah.
probably where they hang out at. And there's like a big lake in the middle of the island or some shit, and then it leads from the ocean into there. Make it do something like that to where you have to like go down the river and
I
get to
think that would be great.
get the
Like, give me
dinosaur.
different environments with these
And then it'd be
dinosaurs.
like, okay, we have to do this before this time, or it's going to get dark. And if it gets dark, we're fucked. So have them fail, have it get dark.
Yeah.
Now it's serious because shit's going to be after them, and it's nighttime, and they can't fucking see. So do that. And you know how cool it was in the third movie where they're trying to like get through the Spinosaurus, and it's nighttime, and they're trying to shoot the
Yeah.
flares up, and they're getting dunked underwater constantly. Like that's cool as shit.
And I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Give this, first of all, in the Lost World, they say, like, oh, it's los cinco muertos. And it's like 5 islands allegedly with dinosaurs on them. So let's play with one of the other 3 islands as opposed to constantly going back to the same 2. Like, maybe one of those islands has like a different type of environment. Like, maybe there's a lot of sand somewhere. Like, just show me something different. I mean, you got dinosaurs that lived in like the Arctic back then. Like, there are dinosaurs that live in other environments that aren't tropical jungle. So like, let's play with that. Show me something at least visually new.
Or
And then
make it
yeah,
where
like just
like Doctor Wu, like secretly after the first park was done, he went around the world and made little laboratories in different parts of the world.
That's your setup. Have him doing it in like
Like he would just use bones and DNA from the dinosaurs that were located in different areas. So he would have
exactly.
one in Russia, and the dinosaurs that roamed around Russia that were buried there, he would use the DNA from those ones and just fucking build those dinosaurs, and then they hang out in Russia or near there, and then have a Chinese place, and he would go to China, and then you'd have the dinosaurs from China.
Well, I
Same with
think
Europe.
that's like 6 movies right there. Is because
Well,
you could
that
just put out fires with Wu's labs
well,
and
don't
like,
call
oh
a movie
man,
Jurassic World if you're going to be primarily in a fucking mansion. Actually
yeah.
expand. Like if they did that and expanded, it would actually be Jurassic World, not Jurassic House. You know what I mean? Like,
And I think that's a better angle for like the dinosaurs getting out into the world, right? Like maybe not have the region specific dinosaurs, but have like, okay, so this wasn't working out for Wu on Isla Nublar. Let's go to Saudi Arabia or China or Russia or Japan or some other place, some other country that is like, oh, dude, you can do your scary dinosaur science here as long as you help our military. Because we've already made this character out to be like obsessed with the science and he's doing it at any cost. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
So he goes, he does it. Have him die in the beginning where like a lab accident occurs and the dinosaurs get out. And like that's where you get Chris Pratt and I guess like Bryce Dallas Howard to come back and like stop the dinosaurs, from getting too spread out before they get everywhere. And then have them fail, like make it we got to contain this kind of situation, but then they fail and that's where you get Dominion and the dinosaurs are everywhere and now we have to deal with it. But you get to play in a different location, like a snowy one or a desert or whatever. Because that's just where Wu's lab was. I don't know, make it cheesy. That's the direction it's going. You can't run a franchise this long and it not get cheesy at some point.
It's hard to, but I mean, if you went that route and actually if you expanded the world and actually, hey, put a fucking lab in China, put a lab in, I don't know, put a lab in England, put a lab in Canada, like just
Yeah.
expand it out a little bit, and then that way you're going to be able to meet new characters. You're going to be able to develop these people that are going on this adventure together. Like Chris Pratt's going to have some more depth to him. Like Bryce Dallas Howard, her character is you're going to be able to see her do more than just go, hey, I want to save dinosaurs. Like
Right.
it brings you up to this scale to where it's like, okay, stakes are super high right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to not just get rid of the dinosaurs, but you have to actually like kill these things because they're
Right.
not. It's not like droids like in Star Wars where you just take out the one building and then they all die or they all turn off. Like
Yeah.
you have to find some sort of way to take out these things, but at the same time, it would be an easy fix because you just have the military of every country and be like, all right, we're gonna fucking take them out.
And that's where you get your question that gets presented at the end of the movie, right? Is of the Fallen Kingdom, is you got to decide, like, is it then right to just maybe dump all these islands back on Isla Nublar or all these animals back on Isla Nublar? Or do we do we really need to slaughter all these animals and effectively cause their extinction? And that's the thing that this movie doesn't do, is it's not like people are coming to the island and killing the dinosaurs. It's a volcano. You can't
Yeah,
do anything to stop it. The movie would make a lot more sense if from the get-go it was should we go there and exterminate these things because we don't want them getting out, or should we like just try to contain them or whatever? Like that's the kind of question I think would be more pertinent, especially like in today's kind of world, because it's this question of like, do we have the right to control that kind of thing, as opposed to like a volcano is going to blow, we should save them, and then that's where your question of do we have the right? It's like, I mean, I don't know, but arguably you have some responsibility here. Like they wouldn't have existed if you didn't do that in the first place, and like you didn't cause the volcano, so either you do or you don't. It's kind of really a dealer's choice. But if it was like the military has to go in and kill these things, that's, that'd be a different feel, because it's like, oh shit, like we have to decide to pull the trigger and blow these things to hell. And that just gives a different weight that they try to give you at the end of the movie, when they're like, oh, if we open the thing, then all the dinosaurs will get out and they'll be healthy. But if we like let them stay in here, they'll all choke to death. And it's like, again, you didn't quite like actively cause this situation. You're just presented with the choice of saving them. Present them with the choice of I don't know. It seems like it would be heavier if you went that route.
I mean, anything really would have more depth than
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not hard to get
freaking
more depth than what we got.
redhead lady that wants dinosaurs. Okay, well, you got murdered. You almost got murdered by one or two or three or hundreds, and you're still cool with that. Oh, okay, nice. That's not like it's not like a tiger trainer. It's like, oh, I still love them. Like it's just their instinct. It's like it's a fucking dinosaur. You can't even remotely train it. Like, come on. Except for damn Blue or whatever.
Well, that's
Just
the whole premise of the first one. You can train them.
It's just
But yeah,
so weird, and it's forced in a way. It's like they're
that's
forcing you
exactly
to
what it
like,
is.
hey, this is the new thing. It's like, no. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
at the
pretty
end of
sure
it, it's three movies that feel like they, at least 2 to 3 movies that feel like they got kind of spliced together. And I don't know, maybe it's
they can't
because like
they
they're
can't
worried
pick
about it.
they can't pick what they want to do though.
I'm getting tired of that with
Do you
movies
want
in general
do you want a
today.
horror movie? Do you want a comedy? Do you want an action adventure? Do you want a romance? Do you want a sci-fi? Do you want to
Right.
do horror? Like, I don't know what you're trying to do.
Well,
And
and
it's
that's the
it's
terrible
also
thing.
movies like this that throw in these comedic lines and they try to be
Hmm.
super funny, like a Marvel movie. It's like The Last Jedi did that. It's like it's not
It's timed poorly,
make humor that will be respectable and that would make sense in this world.
or
Don't
just in the
just
context. Don't just make some
yeah,
joke at a random point. Like
exactly.
humor can fit in the scariest or the most serious movies. It's been done and it's been done really well. It's just you got to have a good like feel for it. I think like in The Last Jedi, right? It like opens up with a joke, I think. It's just this whole joke thing. And I'm like that's not how this movie should really start. Like we should start maybe a little differently. You can put the joke there, but like I don't know. I don't
Don't make
understand why it's happening. I don't understand any of that.
like why are you
And
making
yeah.
Chris Pratt the fucking comedic like relief in this movie?
Well, because
Like
that's what he
he's
started
supposed
as.
he
That's what he
he's
always has been.
he started as a guy that was kind of a comedic relief, but you could take this guy seriously. It's like, yeah, he's kind of being a douche to Bryce Dallas Howard because she blew him off, and rightfully so. He's pissed at her.
Mhm.
But you also like, this guy knows his shit. He's actually serious. He's going to be taking out these dinosaurs with his rifle, and he's trying to track down whatever. And he's been studying these things for a while. It's his career.
I
But
just
then
think
in Fallen Kingdom, he's just a bumbling idiot, and you're just like, okay, why should I take him seriously
agreed.
now?
I
Like,
mean, I think it should have been an angle where like if you're going to play the angle of he doesn't want to be there, make him just super begrudging to be there in the first place. Like, okay, you have to have him come along your trip to the island. That's fine. Do it. But like the whole time, make him kind of like, let's get this over with kind of type vibe, as opposed to like, all right, we're back in it, let's do it, and like whatever. It just doesn't really fit, and it's just, and this is where I think it gets annoying is with a lot of movies, especially with these franchises. It's like, and this isn't just Marvel or something, because it's I think of like the Jordan Peele movies. Like I haven't seen Get Out, but I saw Us, the horror movie Us, and like it was really good. If you get the chance to watch it, it's a really good movie. But it was
okay.
also like it was a scary movie. It hit the horror elements really well, but it also had comedic notes that were perfect. Like and I mean, this is Jordan Peele, so he's good at comedy. But it was just like it landed so perfectly that it's like it didn't take me out of the movie. And I'm feeling like so many movies today are like, oh look, this guy made a really good movie where they were able to do both. Let's make a movie where we can have it all. And it's like, no, you can't just cram shit in and then put your movie out.
A
It's
lot
still
of the Marvel movies do it well because it's humor that you would see in that world.
well, it's also because it's a
Star Wars
comic book.
original Star Wars had comedy in it, but it was timed well. Like Han Solo was kind of a douchebag, like he was cocky. So that kind of humor of him just kind of spouting off like you would hear your grandfather talk, you know?
Well, I think it's just at the end of the
It
day, it always hits me like a timing problem because a lot of these movies, like Jurassic World, is a good example. Fallen Kingdom, I'm sorry, is a good example where you have like it almost feels like it was written as a bunch of different scenes as opposed to like one cohesive movie. And I mean, like the latter Star Wars movies are doing this a lot. It's like I'm just watching a handful of different scenes, some of which are good and some of which are bad. They all have like a mind, like barely a through line through them all, but they're all so different. Like I have a comedy sequence in a horror movie, and just like I don't understand. Like, why can't you just make it all actually flow together? Like, write your movie out as one thing, as opposed to what feels like a bunch of pieces that you wrote that sound and look really good on their own, but when you stick them all together, it just doesn't work.
A lot of things in these new movies aren't working, and they're not really flowing well. And a
It's
lot of
because
the
everyone's copying everybody else. I think somebody
and a
does
lot of
it
the
the worst.
audience isn't really taking too kindly with it, which is understandable because I wouldn't either. And quite frankly, I don't really see a reason why I should be really invested
I
in
agree.
this series. I'm trying to fix the color, make it a little
That's
a little
fine.
bit lighter. I like that one.
Yeah,
But
same.
yeah, like it's just I don't see a reason why I should be invested in this movie because you haven't really given me a good reason to.
Yeah, there's no
You've
stake.
you started it out with Jurassic World 1. Okay, that's fine. I hate the fucking kids in that movie. But other than that, you got me somewhat interested. Okay,
Hmm.
fine. Let's see what we can do from here. And then you just completely went out of left field and you pulled a Rise of Skywalker with it in the second movie. The second
Yeah.
movie. And there's just too many elements going on in it. And you're gonna tell me that I should be accepting that you're gonna be doing human cloning now in a dinosaur movie.
Which all
Like
of these
like
things,
you say
it's
that to yourself.
fine, but you gotta give it to me in a way that I can believe it, and that's where I think. I mean, I think the last thing I'll say on that is just I feel like movies today are going, let's put as much shit as we can in a movie and force feed it to you because a bunch of shit means complexity, which is what people want because they want to feel smart. And it's like, no, this is just like a bunch of nonsense hodgepodge crap put together, and now I'm watching it. Whereas you have movies like the recent Oscar winner like Parasite. That movie takes place in like two sets. There's like two different locations. It's about like six people living in a house. There's very little like plot complexity to this movie, but it has a lot going on in it. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom has like no personal complexity. It's just a bunch of random shit going on, and I'm supposed to just go, okay, cool, like fine, this is good. It's like, well, no, it's not. And I think people should really like, if you don't like a movie, say you don't like a movie. If you do like a movie, say you like it, but don't just. And it's like I said before, don't just like it because it's a Jurassic Park, because it's a Marvel, because it's a Star Wars. Like if it's not, like hold these people to a standard that like is good either objectively or subjectively. You can't please everybody, so you're not always going to get something you want, but with something like this, it's just kind of almost nonsensical. It feels almost insulting as like a moviegoer to watch some of these because it's like, yeah, you're going to like it because it's Jurassic Park. And it's like, well, I like Jurassic Park because it was good. I didn't just like Jurassic Park because it was Jurassic Park. Like, seriously, come on, I'm smarter than that. A kid is smarter than that.
I mean, if you're gonna really go that route of starting a new franchise or starting a franchise over again, for that matter, you gotta you gotta show some respect. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't just full on do this because I want to do it. Do this because I want to do it. Do this because I want to do it. Like you can't do that. You have to read the book because there are books first before movies, right? Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park 1 was a book. And
Okay,
then Lost World was, I think, written because Lost World was they wanted to
okay.
make Lost
So
World.
it was only one book.
Yeah, it's just the one
Okay,
book.
take the elements from that one book in that movie and continue on with that. And if they went astray with the second and third one, that's fine. But hit the same notes that the first movie did. It doesn't have to be a nostalgia fest, but take those elements from that movie and focus on that in your new series. You can't just make up your new thing and do the popular types of movies and popular things in movies that are popular today because it ages your movie.
Yeah.
It dates your movie. You can't fucking do that. That's one of the problems with, like, for instance, we'll go back to Star Wars. Like, you can't
Mhm.
do this type of humor in this movie, and you can't harp on certain elements of this movie, like the whole Canto Bite save the fucking animals thing, because it dates your fucking movie.
Well, I think it's more the memes and shit. Don't put meme jokes in your fucking movies. If you're talking
Yes,
about
exactly.
dating, like that, I mean, Jesus, memes are so like
Oh yeah,
fleeting. It's like you put a fucking meme in a movie, you have now dated your movie almost to like the month and arguably
yeah.
the shit, dude. You're right there. But I agree. Like I think with I think ironically, I don't know. Have you read the Jurassic Park book?
No,
Ironically enough, there are a lot of plot points and things that are in Jurassic World that aren't in the from the first movie, characters and the plot, but it's like the theme is a little different. It's like sort of the B plot of World. I guess I definitely I don't want to spoil the book because it's actually like one of my favorite books. Like it's a really really good book. I suggest you read it. But there's a lot of stuff like Wu is much more the character he is in Jurassic World, but younger. And that's like a really cool thing that I feel like should have been at the forefront of the Jurassic World movies and not kind of at the B or C plot end where it's like, oh yeah, he's still here. He's still making dinosaurs. Oh, he's kind of crazy, isn't he? And it's like, I think we need to get the mad scientist Wu going on, making dinosaurs. Make that the fucking movie and like have Chris Pratt and them trying to stop him or some shit. Like, I don't know. That should be you establish a bad guy, go with your sequels, making him the bad guy because he's not even in the second one. Or he's barely in the second one, something like that. But
it's just
yeah,
don't make him a silly villain either. Like, you
yeah,
can make him the villain without making like without building him up like a super villain.
mm-hmm.
Just make him a bad guy in like an 80s movie. Like, he's the bad guy, go get him.
Yeah.
You don't have to like build him up to be this like super villain or anything.
Well, the worst
Uh,
part is he already did. He's in the first one. He's the villain. Ultimately, he's the bad guy, right? Like the dinosaur is his creation. He made the dinosaur. He's the bad guy.
Towards the end, you see it. Yeah.
Right. That's your setup. The second movie, let's run with that. Wu is the bad guy. He's doing his shit again. We got to stop him from doing it. Maybe we got to save the dinosaurs while we're at it or something or maybe he's still hanging out on the island and he's trying to like make super dinosaurs or something. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking care. It's just do something with it.
We're at the point now where I think Jurassic Park is, ultimately it's not dead, but I think just like Star Wars and just like a lot of movies or big franchises like this, similar to Lord of the Rings, like I'm pretty sure the original trilogy in this franchise is going to be the movies. Like, I
Oh
can
yeah.
watch Lord of the Rings and not even sweat The Hobbit. Like,
Yeah.
I the Hobbit movies are whatever at this point. I think they're fine for what they are, but if you want the really good Lord of the Rings stuff, you watch the trilogy.
Yeah.
You don't need the Hobbit. Same with these movies. You don't need the new Jurassic Park movies or Jurassic World or whatever.
Yeah.
But just stick with the original three, and you're fine. You don't
Yeah.
have to go any further. Now, before we get on to our next topic, I want to just show you real quick. So, actually, never mind. I don't have this article because there's not really too much to talk about.
No,
But
no, there's not a lot happening.
the Jurassic Park section in I had an article, but it wasn't an article. It wasn't a good one. But Jurassic Park section in um,
In
whatchamacallit?
theme park,
Yeah, at the
Universal
Universal
Studios.
Studios theme park, they're updating the whole area to be more like Jurassic World, unfortunately.
See, I don't know, and that's the thing. I guess I don't know how bad that is, right? Because
That's
like,
gonna take a lot of the cool like original trilogy things away from it, and they're gonna make it the newer stuff, and it's like we don't care too much for that. If you just took elements from the 90s movies, just do that. We
well, I
don't
think you got to look at it like if there was one cool thing about Jurassic World was that it had like a modern aesthetic to it, right? Like a kid today going to Universal Studios and sees these like old busted giant box monitor computers in Jurassic Park is going to be like, what the fuck are those? Like my, computer at home doesn't look anything like that. So you do update it for your current audience. And I think that's a good thing. I think it would be really cool to just have it updated to look, coincidentally like Jurassic World, but maybe also have a portion of the park where you take all that old Jurassic Park shit and like make it look dumpy and make it look like, oh, this is where the old park was, kind of like they did in the movie. Because I think that is kind of what saves Jurassic World a little bit is you do get that taste of this is what the old park ruins are like now. And like that's a cool thing in all of these movies I like is you watch the degradation of the park. So like in the first one, you have this pristine, not even opened yet park. The second one, you kind of have stuff run down. It's still working, but not really. By the third one, it's like the apocalypse happened. And then in the fourth one, they're like, yeah, this is an area that people just disregarded. And you can maybe pull a theme or two out of there of it being like, you know, they're ignoring the shit that happened, the hubris of their downfall. And here's an example of that. And that might be digging too deep, but I think that's what somebody was going for in the first one. The third one or second one, you don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I'm kind of worried because I have year passes to Universal, so I don't want them to make it strictly Jurassic World. But I mean, as far as updating your, I mean, like you mentioned the computers, yeah, you can update that stuff, but just keep the feel of the original movies in the park. Now, if you want to expand the park and add the new stuff, that's fine, but don't change the stuff that's already established, the first movie stuff. Like you have the whole big building and everything. Like you have the little sections of it where you can go see dinosaurs and
Yeah.
you see the old videos, the little intro video with a DNA guy and he's talking to you. Like keep that stuff, but you can update the computers and everything. Just
I mean,
don't make it too new.
if there's one thing that Jurassic World totally should be from Jurassic World, it should totally be. I'll say this, and then we can move on to the other franchise we were going to talk about. But if there's one thing Jurassic World that needed to be carried over into like a real world theme park, it's totally the dinosaur riding petting zoo shit. Could you
Yeah.
imagine being like a kid and getting to ride even like a little robot dinosaur around a pen? That would be fucking amazing. Like
Yeah.
that was so damn cool to see.
Yeah, I
That
appreciate
should
that.
totally get moved over.
I completely forgot about that until you just mentioned that.
It's
but
arguably like one of the best scenes in the movie. Like I love that scene because that was done in such a way where I looked at it and I thought to myself, "Fuck, if I was a kid and I was doing that, like that would be how I felt watching the first movie."
that would
Was like
make a
it was
kid's
awesome.
like childhood right there. Just like I rode a brontosaurus when I was a little kid, and it was fucking cool. It's like no way, really. Like I rode a triceratops, and it was awesome. I touched its horn. It's like that's really cool. Like if they did that, that would be a fucking moneymaker. Now they do have like raptors, like animatronic like raptors that you can go like take pictures with.
Yeah.
They're like semi animatronic, but there's a guy behind it controlling it. So he kind of like maneuvers the head and stuff and like chomps its teeth and stuff at you.
Oh
You can
yeah.
take pictures with it and it makes the noise and the little cricking sound. But
They have one of those. The Field Museum up here in Chicago has one of those. They bring it out for like whenever there's like big fests in the park or something near the museum, they always
yeah,
have a guy walking around in the suit. It's pretty cool to see, like this just full size raptor like walking around during like the Chicago Food Festival or something, and it's just like making the noise
that
and
is
roaring
cool.
at people. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they can do that. Like something like that would be fun. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Jurassic World, and I'm not looking forward to Dominion. I'm gonna go see it for sure. I mean,
I'll
I'm
go
sure you
see
are.
it. Yeah, I mean, I'll go see it just because I'm curious about it. I mean, like after seeing that short film, which I suggest people watch because arguably I found it better than Fallen Kingdom. But after watching
What's the short film?
so the short films that like battle at Big Rock or something like that, I can send you a link
Yeah, go
after the
for it.
show totally. But it's like a 10-minute film that they released on YouTube and stuff I want to say like Super Bowl last year or something like that.
Huh.
And it's basically like this family, it's about this rando family that is going camping. And it's in this post Fallen Kingdom world where dinosaurs are like part of the environment now. And it kind of starts out all normal. You like get your family dynamic, like these kids are doing whatever. And then you just have like a dinosaur come into this campgrounds and start like tearing shit up and like killing people and stuff, and they have to fight it off. And ultimately, I think it's like, they shoot it with a crossbow or something. Like they have to kill this dinosaur, I think, by the end of it. And it's just kind of a cool take on like, hey, this is how obtusely violent this world now is because these dinosaurs are around. So it's like, it's not like a bear where you can just go in your trailer and close the door and just be like, don't fuck with the bear. It's like, oh shit, there's a dinosaur. And like, I can close my door and it's just going to keep trying to get in and like kill me or something because it's bigger than the trailer. Like it's pretty interesting to watch. Like I suggest it. It gave me a little bit of hope for like what direction the new one's going to take, but we'll see.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, go ahead and send that to me. I'll definitely watch that after this.
Totally.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into our next topic. So me and you grew up together,
Yep.
and we all watched Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park, bunch of stuff like that, video games and all that. One of the bigger ones that we were always really into and still are to this day, as far as I mean, I can speak for myself. I don't know about you. Do you still follow Harry Potter really closely?
Don't anymore. Like, I mean, I'm not like all, and I'm not into it or something like that. Don't get me wrong. I think it's one of those like the Harry Potter movies are done, and I was like, okay, like we're done, we're nice and wrapped up. And I think that was maybe the first like series short of Star Wars, I guess, where I was like, wow, I saw this thing like in real time from beginning to end. I feel so satisfied it's over. And then it was like, oh, we're gonna make a new one. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And like, I didn't go see it in theaters or anything. I don't think. I think I just it was on TV or on Netflix or one of those streaming whatevers, and I was like, yeah, okay, let's see what this is about. And I watched it, and I was like, that was pretty enjoyable. Like the first Fantastic Beasts, I liked a lot because it was more mature, sort of, and it was like dealing with this is what the world could be like for wizards outside of school, which was a neat concept that we didn't really play around with. The second one was, it was all right. It wasn't bad. It's just one of those things where I think it's more the fandom of Harry Potter that gets me kind of wanting to back up than the actual things, the quality of the thing of the franchise itself. Because like people are, I mean, talk about nostalgia. I think personally, I think like the fans of Star Wars in regards to nostalgia pale in comparison to the nostalgia of the people that like Harry Potter. Like there might not be as many, but holy shit, I've never met someone who was like, I'm a Harry Potter fan who wasn't like a fanatic of Harry Potter. Like, holy shit. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can like what you like, but like, damn, these people like it. And it makes me go, should I like these movies? Because I don't like them that much. Like, they're good. I like them, but that's a lot of Harry Potter for one person to have. But yeah, so I guess I just like, I don't know. I'm not super, 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 super into them like some people are. So I kind of just maybe have backed up a little bit. Also, they don't come out as frequently, I feel like. So it's sort of I kind of forget they're there sometimes. Except around like Christmas.
I personally, I've watched Harry Potter from, like you said. I mean, we did beginning to end, and it's something I grew up with, similarly to Star Wars. Even though I think I would say I'm more of a Star Wars fan than Harry Potter, but that would be me just cutting it close. I mean, I fucking love Harry Potter, and I mean the fandom for Harry Potter is very very loyal.
Yeah.
It can get a little too. It can get a little teen angsty from time to time, more than Star Wars. But I would say overall, I mean, more people like Harry Potter than Star Wars today, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But Harry Potter just established a really good story and, over time just progressively built. And when you did the movies and you have the actors age along with the character, it's really cool seeing that. That being said, the new movies I think are really cool because you get to see not students do magic.
Yes, and
like
that's what I
like
like about it
the
too.
kids they're in school the whole time. All
Mhm.
8 movies they're in school except for the was
They're
it
still school age. I
one
think that they're school
one
age the entire time.
1 through 6, they're all school age.
Yeah.
And then 7th movie, they're like graduation age, adult age. And a lot of the kids are still stuck at school, but they're out and about doing their own thing. And they're using way more magic than they would in school, which is really
Mhm.
cool. And then Fantastic Beasts, you get fully grown adults that have been doing magic for years and years. And you get to actually see their ability, not kind of watered down like in the movies. Because in the movies, the adults and the teachers do magic, but
Mhm.
it's limited because you're in school with kids. It's like you can't, like, for instance, when we were in Boy Scouts, we would go camping and we would shoot BB guns. Well, you don't show up to teach little kids how to shoot a BB gun with a shotgun. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I think that was the thing is you have to water it down because it's supposed to be, Rowling kind of angled it to be this you're not there yet thing. You're still learning, you're still growing. You can't do this stuff because you just haven't learned how to do it enough yet. And that's cool because it makes you feel like a kid and it also helps your audience who doesn't have magical powers go and relate to your characters that only. Whereas by the time you get to Fantastic Beasts, it's like, yeah, we're cool.
Yeah, like you see the teachers and everything fight more in the last movie just because they have to fight and they're forced to.
Yeah.
So to see them actually do stuff, and that's like you're a little bit of like a taste of it. And then once Fantastic Beasts comes about, you get to see Newt Scamander, you get to see Dumbledore, you get to see all these people in the wizarding world, all these auras who actually get to use certain spells that normally you wouldn't be able to use, which is really really cool and really fun to see. And it's a breath of fresh air for me, I would
For
say.
sure. That's why I liked it too. I mean, it's the whole series on the whole, the series is like paced really well because it's like you said, we're kind of gradually showing you more and more and more. And then finally it's like, okay, you're used to being a muggle in the wizard world. Like, let's dump you in like a muggle or a wizard school. Let's like show you what the wizard rest of the people are. Like, let's just show you what the rest of the people do because you're used to it enough. You don't need us to not hold your hand, but like to water it down. Like, we can show you the crazy shit. And I mean, like, that's a thing that these franchises could totally do more of is show me what this universe, this world that you built is like. Cause come on, man. Like, I want to see, how different types of people are living in Harry Potter. Like, what does a magical lifestyle look like? Theoretically, there's so much shit I wouldn't have to do. I could just wave a wand and it's done. So, like, what does that look like, as opposed to just, well, I'm at school and I go home to my muggle parents where I do muggle things, but I still have like magical abilities. I just am not allowed to use them. Like, okay, well, then I just don't get to see what it's like. That's why, like in the second Harry Potter movie, it was so cool because you see like Ron's house and stuff, and it's like this is what a magical house is like. This is what it is to be a kid in a magical household, and that was cool because it's so much crazy shit going on.
Yeah. And then
And these movies
and you,
double down on that.
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, the Fantastic Beasts movies like double down on that, and they're like, "Here's the whole world," and it's like really cool to see that.
No, for sure. It is. It's one of the coolest things being able to see all of that and being a kid growing up, being able to see Ron in a magical household and kind of relate to being a kid, but how he would react to things, like he reacts to certain things his parents would do, or he'd react to certain like the owls or the yelling letter in the dining hall,
Mm-hmm.
like some stuff like that. And then once you get to being an adult and you see the Fantastic Beasts households, how Queenie's making food and everything, waving her wand, and all the ingredients are coming together. Like that's really cool. Seeing like a legitimate adult magical household.
And doing it as like a, I think the way the first fan, like, I'm so happy that Dan Fogel's in that movie. I'm not sure if I'm really a fan of him in the second movie, just because it feels like that was a test audience choice. But
Yeah,
his character in the first movie is like great because it still makes it accessible to like all of us who are watching the movie and don't
it,
have magical powers. You still
yeah,
get
we
that.
can relate to him because he's having fun with it, but he's still kind of like, what the fuck?
But
Like,
at the same time, everything's so damn casual, which is great because in Harry Potter, there and it worked in Harry Potter, and it's rightfully so because it's a kid and it's whimsical and stuff, and it still works. But it's like everything that they're doing, even what they consider mundane, isn't being shown as like mundane shit.
yeah,
Like, oh yeah, the owls are here, and to Harry, it's this magical, like, oh my god, the owls, and you get this wondrous view of all the owls flying around. In like Fantastic Beasts, you just kind of get Dan Fogler's reaction. Like he's just kind of like, "Oh man, that is the best like whatever pastry thing I've ever made, and I like am into baking and shit, or I've ever had, and I'm into baking and shit. It's so good. And, like this is so amazing. You just made these things kind of out of thin air. It's
mm,
pretty cool, but at the same time, everyone's doing it pretty damn casually. Like you get kind of a whimsical bit with it, but it's just like wave my wand and dinner's ready to go, and it's just like what the fuck, and everyone's like, this is completely normal. Dan, calm the fuck down.
yeah, and that's cool
And
about
that's
it.
great.
You don't get the whole like wonder and everything in like the eyes of like the students. So
Mhm.
now everyone's attuned to it. Everybody's seen 9 movies, or no, 8 movies. Everyone's seen
Yeah.
8 movies of this stuff, and they also follow it and everything. They have the
Mhm.
whole huge Harry Potter following. So everyone's like attuned to it. So now you get to see a world where it's like second nature for them to wave their wand and oh, there's a fucking meal. Like that's cool.
Right.
Real quick, Etep Queen is the place to be reviews. What is up, brother? Just talking a little Harry Potter and kind of just getting our wizard on, But no, everybody listening, or if you are listening or listen on the replay, Etep Okulian, Pete just made a thumbnail for us for this episode, so appreciate it, brother. It's a really cool thumbnail, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you pay him, he'll probably make you one.
Mhm.
But what is up, brother? And also tomorrow night, Etep Queen's Place B reviews and Salvador of 2 Cent Toys will be on my channel here at Google Brothers Entertainment for another episode of The Boardroom. So tune in for that tomorrow, and we'll have a good time. Um,
Nice.
that's my
Your little
little
plug.
plug right there. But yeah,
Oh,
like
just
you're
a
saying,
brag.
what was that?
No, I was like, oh, just a brag.
Yeah,
But
just
yeah,
bragging on my channel. It's really
you
cool.
over here with 2 channels going on.
But yeah, like it's so much fun being able to be a part of the franchise, and we're growing up as the franchise grows, and it's you can tell the franchise is maturing because you get to see now, instead of seeing students doing
Mhm.
magic, you get to see adults doing magic. You get to see a whole community outside of Hogwarts doing these things, and you don't have to be shown the steps anymore. And now
Right.
if you're getting somebody into the franchise, I would recommend you starting from beginning till now, just so you can you can progress with everybody along with the franchise, along with the world, and see how things get cooler and see how the characters grow. And you get to see this wide range of magic in all the Harry Potter films. And now we're at the point where we're seeing Grindelwald just obliterate people's magical wands on a fucking flying carriage. And it's like, wow, this is legit stuff. Like, this is dangerous. Like, this is cool?
Totally. I mean, and I think you put it really, really well just now. Like, you have Harry Potter, which like kind of walks with you, following the same characters, following sort of the same settings, but done in such a way where you are watching them grow. You know, it's like just because you go to school, like say you're in college, you go to school for your sophomore year. It's not just the same thing over again because you're going to the same school. It's different because you've grown, people have changed, different classes, different shit's going to happen, and this franchise has kind of done that. And I mean, I know it was books first, so like obviously you have that to lean on, but it's like you're going through and your characters are growing, and yes, they're going back to the same setting for like 6 out of 7 books, or 6 out of 8 movies, and or even like 8, 7.5 movies, if you will. But like you're going back to the same setting over and over, but you're different people coming back, even though you're the same characters. And that's what's really cool is because you're watching growth. And I think that might be like something like now that you point it out, now that it makes sense, I'm wondering if that's maybe something why like the Marvel movies have gotten a little stale, at least for me, because instead of changing the characters, I feel like we've just added more people. Whereas something like Harry Potter, which has gone on and on and on for years and years and years, it's like the same characters, but they're changing for the most part. Fantastic Beasts is a little different, but it's they're changing. Who's how these people, how these characters are represented, and I'm thinking about it now, kind of going, because in the Marvel movies and stuff, it's not, oh, Captain America's growing as a person so much as it is, oh, look, now we have Captain America joined up with Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel and Iron Man and Thor, and it's just like we're stacking more characters as opposed to just growing and working with the ones that we have. Um, and I think that's maybe something that Harry Potter's really cool with is they're just like, no, you're gonna get the same people, but we're gonna grow. We're gonna make them grow because that's what people do. And I think that's one of the reasons why it stays so relevant and why so many people are so hardcore with it because it's just that relatable. Like you grew up just like these kids did. And for a lot of people, now you're living in a world as an adult, just like Newt Scamander and friends are. Like it's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much fun being able to see that, and you get to relate to people a lot more than you normally would. So you
Hmm.
get the chance to see like Newt Scamander handling animals and dealing with the ministry, and kind of you get to see the ministry aspect and the business side of things in the wizarding world, but you also get to see the side of somebody like Newt who doesn't really want anything to do with that, just to kind of do his own thing and
Right.
kind of just be peaceful and, just save magical animals and bring awareness to people about them, and not to be a douchebag or anything, but just to kind of show people and to help them. But he
Right.
also knows how to fight and everything, and he knows the ins and outs of the ministry and everything. So, and he has a brother that's in it, so he has that working relationship between him and his brother wants him to join and be an aura, but he doesn't want to because he just wants to keep the peace and be neutral. So you get those elements from there, and you also get to see an outsider's perspective on the wizarding world. So you get to see muggles react to
Hmm.
it, like Dan Fogler's character,
Yeah.
who is kind of thrown into this world by accident, and all he wanted to do was get a loan for his bakery. And then next thing you know,
Yeah.
he's being disapparated all over the place by Newt, and gets bit by an animal, and gets kind of drunk from that. And
Yeah. No,
there
the
are
staging of the characters is fantastic. Like I mean, it's a really well set up. Like I believe that Dan Fogler is like in this world and he's kind of stuck in it. But at the same time, you're not making just like this is a wizard character who follows these rules. It's like, the way I look at Newt Scamander is like I can relate to him because it's like everyone tells you, hey, you'll be successful, you'll be, making lots of money, you'll be whatever if you do this job that I'm telling you to do. And this guy is like, well, I don't really want to do that. I want to do this other thing, which is not only something I'm interested in, but like a cause I believe in, like protecting these animals. And everyone's like, it's gonna suck for you. And arguably, it kind of does. Like his life isn't great. He's not like a huge dude who's like the head of this animal thing. He's actually kind of shat on for a lot of the movies, and it's just like he rolls with it because he's still doing what he wants to do. And like all of that I just described has nothing to do with him being a wizard, except for the fact the animals are magic. But it's just like you can relate to that as anybody because everyone deals with that at some point.
Yeah, because anybody can get a job that they hate, but
Right.
not everybody can do what they want to do because they love doing that or enjoy doing that.
Right. Or if they do, they have to face those same kind of hardships that he's doing, right? Like it's like you're going to have to deal with the repercussions. And so, you got to ask yourself, do you really, really like this?
Yeah,
Are
and
you
he's
really,
got to
really going to
make
do it?
sacrifices. Is he's in love with Tina,
Mm,
but he has to go back to England and, continue to save his animals and do what he needs to. But he has to sacrifice his relationship with Tina to go do that and write his book. And then later on, comes back later on to help Dumbledore. And it's cool. And you get to see also Dumbledore and McGonagall, and you see these other characters that you grow up with watching in the Harry Potter movies, and you're like, this is really cool seeing an early version of them. I think the
Oh yeah.
McGonagall, I think McGonagall is a little bit of a stretch, but not bad. But seeing Dumbledore and how cool and how genuine and how smart he is and stuff in his youth, or not youth, but
Well,
yeah,
he's not like headmaster yet. He's not peak Dumbledore. He's still like kind of about to get there, like on the cusp of peak Dumbledore.
yeah, and you see he's got this like relationship with Grindelwald that he he doesn't have this relationship with him anymore because they had a
Hmm.
falling, and they had this like very intimate relationship, and they made like this. I guess I don't know what was in the little locket. It's like a
His
chain.
blood.
It
So this is where they pull like
blood
kind of a
bond or something, right?
they what?
It was like a blood bond or something like that.
Yeah, so I think this is where they pull like sort of a Star Wars sequel trilogy with it is like a lot of what that thing is came out after the movie and is not
Yeah,
in the movie. It's like they have the whole reason that Grindelwald gets Ezra Miller's character, spoilers for the new whatever Fantastic Beasts movie. The reason he gets Ezra Miller's character is because he can't actually kill Dumbledore because of that bond, and Dumbledore can't kill him because of that bond, or maybe even can't like act against him. I'm not sure what the level is here, but
yeah, because if they go against each other, then they both die. I think it is.
yeah, so it's kind of like if one goes, the other goes, and ironically, it winds up being if I go to kill this guy, I'm just going to kill myself. So if he gets Ezra Miller to kill this guy, then he
He's gonna
won't
he's in the
die. He'll
clear.
be fine. Yeah. Which
So,
seems like a weird deal, but
and what's crazy is they also you find out that Ezra Miller's character is a Dumbledore.
I think that's the
That was weird, but
it came out of left field and it just seemed so unhinted at to where it like when it happens you're just kind of like what? Like is this a thing?
but
Um
it makes sense based on how powerful he is. And
yeah.
it's not like this character that's like handed everything to him. Like he has a really shitty life, and he was in an orphanage for for the first movie.
Oh, he's all kinds of fucked up for
Yeah.
sure.
Like he is an orphan.
Yeah.
So it's not like just some random guy thrown out of left field. Like there's probably a reason why he's there and why he was an orphan. And there's probably a reason why Dumbledore doesn't really know of him, of Credence or whatever.
Well,
Even
yeah, because they switched him
Aberforth
around or
probably doesn't
something.
know about him, or maybe Aberforth does. You don't know. But I think it's going to lead to the death of Dumbledore's sister.
Probably. I mean,
And
I think a lot of this like I think they're gonna have to kind of tiptoe because with Ezra Miller, they're presenting a lot of weird possibilities and shit. Like something that you don't really think about that they kind of don't really hint at so much in the Harry Potter books is like, does lineage actually affect how good of a wizard you are? Because that's kind of a freaky thought, right? Like that's like a weird Star Wars Ian thing. Like because I'm a Skywalker, I'm really good with the Force. Like
I think
because I'm a
both
Dumbledore,
those things, and it doesn't make me mad because you see how strong Aberforth is in the last movie, how powerful he is. So you're just like that. It does make sense. I mean, you can be a Dumbledore and not do anything with your powers and be a little bitch. I mean,
oh well,
I
I
mean,
mean, it totally makes
possibility.
sense. Yeah,
But
I don't disagree at all. I'm just kind of like,
I was
I
kind
don't
of
know.
blown away at the end of that movie, though. Like he has the Phoenix and everything, and you're
Yeah, I mean, I'm
like,
interested.
whoa, what is like it? It actually, it's something new. It's
Hmm.
something original. Yet you've used it to play off of older characters,
Right.
and you've made them related, and it's cool. It's cool seeing that, and it's fun not having to have this like kind of forced. It doesn't feel forced. Like it. to me at least, it feels
Mm,
somewhat natural. Like you don't have to worry about this weirdness going on. And the fact is, it's being written by J.K. Rowling. It's not like some other author is writing it and putting it off as Harry Potter or the world of Harry Potter. It's
right.
not like somebody, it's not like Ryan Johnson like intentionally writing shit to just like counteract all of Star Wars and everything.
Mm,
Like if George Lucas was still writing Star Wars, that's Star Wars. Like you can't really say you don't have to like it, but that's the way it is. Like he wrote the prequels. Well, a lot of people didn't like the prequels, but that's Star Wars still. So that's what you're going to get. Same thing with this. J.K. Rowling's writing it, and she's actually doing a pretty good job connecting everything, and she's expanding the world. So she ended up making the American Ministry and the American Wizarding School. I think it's called Ilvermorny.
oh, I don't remember. They say the name, but without subtitles, I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck you just said.
I think
Like,
it's
there's a
called
lot of
Ilvermorny.
gobbledygook words in this movie.
But she also made the Brazilian School for Magic for South America.
Okay.
And she also made, I think there's an African school, and then there's a
Hold up. So Africa only has one school, but like England has one and France has one and Belgium has one? Like, what the fuck?
I'm not sure. Well, Brazil has one for all of South America.
See, that's weird. Like,
Well,
that's just
America only has
weird.
one.
I don't know. I think that's kind of weird too, because like America's really big. I don't know. I guess I just look at it like, why is there a French school and a Belgian school and an English school, and then there is an American only for like all of America, and then there's a Brazilian one for all of South America. Like, I mean, obviously, it's probably like she just, who cares? You're not going to delve into it that deeply. Like, why would you need to know what 50 schools for wizarding are in Africa or whatever? I'm
I
just
don't
hoping
know.
that they don't jump the shark with
Yeah,
the
she's
Dumbledore
updating
stuff.
everything currently. I mean, not updating it, but I mean, she's writing stuff and creating more things for the world. So I think
Hmm.
it's cool. I think it's cool seeing that and somebody that actually cares about her franchise. And again, she has been consistent. She keeps the same director for all these movies.
Well,
Uh,
for the most part,
she keeps David Yates, and he's been directing Harry Potter movies since the third one, since Azkaban.
right? But prior,
Prior to that, it was Christopher Columbus, right?
yes, I believe it was Chris Columbus directed those.
Yeah,
Um, and I
but
personally, I like Yates's take on Harry Potter better than I like Columbus's. Columbus was really to the books as far as what it felt like, but I think when it needed to change, it changed, and that was cool.
yeah,
I'm worried. My worry is that like because the Dumbledore thing doesn't. You're right. It doesn't feel forced. Like Ezra Miller being a Dumbledore doesn't feel forced. I don't know if I like it just because it feels too much like how we talked, I think, last time about how like Star Wars is about the Skywalkers, and it's like we're not going to get anything other than that. And it's like, well, maybe I want to see something other than that. Like, I don't necessarily want to see what, Luke's offspring are doing or whatever
but this is
all the
similar.
time.
It's similar to Voldemort's, like reasoning, because Voldemort obviously like knew who Grindelwald was,
Right.
but Voldemort wanted to make magical beings like wizards, witches. He wanted to make them the apex person in society, not
Right.
muggles. So similar to
Which is
Grindelwald, Grindelwald's the same thing, but Grindelwald's way more persuasive. Grindelwald's way more
he's
suave.
very charismatic. Yeah.
He doesn't have a snake head.
Well, I think the weird thing is it's like, because they're not, I guess the first thing is just it's scary because it's like, oh, I guess Voldemort was kind of right. Like if you keep, having if you keep magic within magical families, those kids are clearly genetically, predisposed to be stronger than other people,
But also, I mean,
which is weird. And I don't know. That's why I'm worried. It's like, are we jumping the shark here? Because you now have laid out a rule for your world that like you either have to find a way to disprove with another rule or like it starts getting funky because that means like Ron should theoretically have more inherent power than Hermione.
I think it's more of just how much you practice and how much you I mean, it's similar to like athletes. Like you can have good athletic abilities, but unless you practice and work at it and actually try to become stronger in anything, you're gonna suck. Unless
Yeah,
you
but I think it's that they're pushing it to the point where like Ezra Miller has had no real, if anything, it's the opposite of training in this. He had the point where it was going to kill him, and yet he's super mondo powerful, just kind of existing,
but I
you
think it's
know?
one of those things where yeah, you can be powerful and stuff, but it's that little extra it's that extra boost that you get from just having a linear like a family of
Mm.
previous wizards. Like Hermione's a good wizard.
Right.
Parents, both of her parents don't have powers. They're
And
both
that's where it contradicts for me, is because she's good. She's a great wizard. So maybe you're saying it's like a, yeah, you might have all this power, but it's like a battery. You could have a bigger battery, but if you're not plugging it into anything, it's kind of just not doing anything.
yeah, and it's the same with athletes with in that aspect as well. Like if your dad was a baseball player,
Hmm.
you're probably going to be a good baseball player too. Like my dad was really good, and when I was growing up and playing through high school and college, I mean, it shows. Like I had that athletic ability in my family. Same with like I'm just going to throw this name out here, Prince Fielder. Like he's a really good baseball player. He has two boys growing up, and they're both going to be good. Vladimir Guerrero, Vlad Guerrero was a really good baseball player. His son now is playing for the Blue Jays as a third baseman. Like it can run in the family, but a lot of guys playing in professional sports I mean, they have parents who weren't professional athletes. So, I mean, that's just the way it is. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I see what you mean. Like it's kind of like you might be able to do this or you might not. I guess I'm just kind of curious where it's going to go. I think the really freaky thing is just that you have Grindel. Like I'm kind of curious. Like ultimately, is Grindelwald going to have a nefarious purpose, or does he genuinely believe in what he's doing? Because if you notice, everybody calls Voldemort like this Dark Lord and whatever, but like Grindelwald's just a criminal. Like he's not a Dark Lord Grindelwald. He's like, oh, we got to get that guy. He's a criminal, and so it's kind of interesting that he's given like a less evil, I guess, like sort of place. And then when you hear him talk,
oh, he's evil. I mean,
well, he's totally evil, but
him and his
it's like,
straight up like murder a household, like a family, just to take their apartment and then just kill a kid like point blank. Like,
oh, for sure. But I guess the difference is like he's do my evil goal in whatever it takes to do that. Whereas Voldemort was like petting cats, in this case snakes, like sitting in chairs, like you Harry Potter, I'm going to kill you because I'm evil. It's like they're different, right? Like one's a more realistic villain, I guess, in a way.
Grindelwald's got this really swaggy like gangster vibe to him, but
Well,
he's
it's very like he has a goal,
he's
and
very
that's what hits me.
yeah,
And
like
I'm kind of curious
yeah.
what does it look like? Because I think the one thing that would ruin these movies is if they ultimately reveal that Grindelwald's like, yes, I'm just hiding behind a mask of looking like I'm an everyman kind of person, and in fact I am dastardly and evil. It's like, nah, make him. I kind of am hoping like he genuinely believes that what he's doing is worth it. Like he knows it's not right, maybe, but he just doesn't care. And he's like, I need to achieve this goal.
You know
Because
what
to me, that's a scary villain.
it is. I also hope that they continue to make him like really driven by his goal,
Hmm.
and there's that romance between him and Dumbledore, but I hope they don't harp on that too much. I hope it's thrown in there a little bit just to show like he's distraught by it,
Hmm.
but I hope that's not like his reasoning for doing all this.
Oh no.
Because that's just so stupid and
Well,
petty.
it would cheapen it.
Yeah, it is. It's like, oh, you're gonna do all of this just because your boyfriend left you?
Right. And I mean, like that's
No. Like,
I'm really hoping. I mean, I doubt it will because I've been hoping for this in all the kinds of movies that have been coming out, but they just don't do it well. Is like as far as the like romance between same sex romance and stuff. With indie movies aside, like a lot of mainstream movies, I just don't see them doing it very well because it's like it becomes either a thing where
it's forced.
Yeah, you either force it in a way that's just in the background and it means nothing, or you force it in a way where it's so upfront that I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm not gay or anything, but it just to
It,
me
like,
it feels
in general,
cheap.
yeah, it feels cheap. It's like I don't. Is this? It doesn't seem like genuine.
Right, and that's
This
the thing that
this
bothers
this,
me.
this feels like it could be genuine, but
Right,
but
and
don't
that's
talk
what I'm
about it
so
in like
hoping
like
for.
yeah. It's like a Family Guy. It's like something Peter would do. It's like there's an elephant in the room. Well, he's going to fucking address it either way, even if he means to or not. Like,
Well, and I think it's just like, yeah, obviously this I mean, speaking of that, like, yeah, this is something that has to be addressed, and it's a little irritating that we kinda spent that whole second movie beating around the bush, and it was like, dude, just we everybody already knows, like, just go for it. But the thing I'm kinda curious is, like, I don't want it to become like "Oh, hey, look, they're gay, everybody." It's like, gay people exist, like, they're people. Why do I need to be told? Like, that's like to me, it hits me as if, like, it's like, "Oh, look, this lady and this dude are in love. Hey, they're in love, everyone, look." It's like, I don't care. I
yeah,
don't need that up front. Make it organic, or you're just passing it off as, like, what hits me as, like, a cheap way to get people to watch your movie, whereas, like, with their romance, the way it seems to be set up, both of these actors I mean, they're great actors. They both are very capable of giving a very believable, very emotional performance, and I wanna see them do it. Like, let's just go for it. This is a part of their characters. Let's make it a part of the movie, but let's not, like you said, I don't wanna see Grindelwald go, "The only reason I'm doing this is because, Dumbledore broke my heart." It's like, well, fuck, it could have been, I don't want this. I'm doing this because Rowena Ravenclaw broke my heart. It's like you could put in anybody there and it just cheapens the whole movie. And it's like,
yeah.
I need a real drive. I want this to be the reason, like, your guys' romance, make it the reason it fell apart.
And they
Like,
also,
Dumbledore, what if
yeah,
we do this?
yeah, they also like they explain it in the second movie. It's like Dumbledore didn't want to follow him and didn't want to continue his relationship with him because he
Right.
kept going down a dark path. So he's just like, I can't keep doing this with you. Like we're done. Even though we
Yes.
have this bond, like we disagree fundamentally and ethically and morally on everything that you want to do, Grindelwald. So I'm gonna take my wand. I'm gonna go to Hogwarts. Gonna do my thing.
Mhm.
You, good luck.
Right, and I think that's where you could have an emotional flashback where you're like, these 2 people are in clearly a romantic relationship, and just, like, have that falling out. Because, like, I think people will really look at that and they would go, 1, they'd probably go, "Oh, man, it's about time a mainstream movie does this," and 2, they'll go, "Wow, that, like,
Let's be
that they're
honest.
gay," like, whatever, like,
Let's be
just
honest. They're gonna keep
people.
doing that for the next like 10 years. Like it's the
I
first time
know,
they've done.
I
It's like
know.
you realize this has been done before. Calm down.
Well, it's not even like it's been done before, it's just everybody acts like
This is a huge
it's some,
deal.
like, big well, they act like it's, like,
Get over it. Like it.
not so much a big deal as much as, like, "Look, we're representing people." It's like you're representing arguably a caricature of people, like, just represent people and make that an aspect of their personality. It's kinda like saying, like, "You like Star Wars, therefore everything about you is focused on Star Wars and you have no other interests at all." And it's like, well, that's just not a real person. You're just making up fake people and saying it's, you know,
Yeah.
whatever the word is, representation and stuff like that. And it's kinda just like, at that I don't know, I guess maybe I would feel like if I was, like,
Well,
part of one of those
diversity,
communities, I'd be a little insulted, but I don't know. I can't really talk too much because 'cause I'm not gay, I'm not part of those communities in the sense of, like, I have that, but yeah,
well, it's like
so
it's like if you want to make your character like that, then fine. Like, I mean, I don't think it was really to establish that Dumbledore was gay and that he had a relationship with Grindelwald. But if you're J.K. Rowling and you establish these characters more and you're like, this is what he is,
mhm,
if that's what you made up, that's fine.
yeah,
You don't
and
have
that's what bothered me about that second one was it's like, we're really avoiding dropping that quote unquote "bomb" until, like, the 3rd movie, I guess, when it's like everybody watching this who's even remotely into Harry Potter knows this. Like, it's not a secret. I don't know. It just seemed weird because it seemed like they were intentionally avoiding it. And I'm like, you could just say it when it's appropriate and there you go. But instead, you just have Dumbledore who's kind of like, we're closer than brothers or whatever. And I'm like, okay.
Well, when you see that scene, it's like, yeah, that's not how brothers act
That's
around.
a steamy ass scene, by the way. When they're like doing the blood thing, I remember seeing it going, damn, this is steamy. Like, I
But
was.
it wasn't like it wasn't. It was a very mature scene.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't
Like,
mean that to be like, oh, yeah, they're getting
not
hot
like
and
little
bothered.
kids, but it was like, wow, that was very well and maturely written, and that was very like, it was classy. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't this out there like really hard to watch American Pie looking scene. It was just like, yeah,
Yeah,
they
it wasn't them getting it on, which arguably I think anybody getting it on in this movie series doesn't really have any place. I mean, like, I don't need to see it. I don't need to see any of these wizards and witches doing anything like that. It's just weird.
you don't even need to really like see anyone kiss. It's just, I mean, if
Yeah.
we're getting really down to it, you don't have to. You're
And I
going
think that's
to.
what I liked
Which is
about
fine.
the first, like the Harry Potter in title movies, right? Is like
Yeah,
romance was really like a
an
B plot.
underlying thing in there.
It wasn't up front. And that was cool because it works because these kids are growing up and they're like finding that they're attracted to each other and whatever. And it's just like we're dealing with that, but at the same time, we're kind of focused on stopping the end of the world or whatever they're trying to stop.
You don't see anybody kissing. You don't really see anybody kiss someone until the fifth movie.
Which makes sense because by
You
the
don't.
fifth movie, they're like all, 15 or something like that, right?
Yeah, you
Like,
don't. Yeah, you don't see anybody really kiss until Harry kisses Cho in
right.
um the DA like quarters. So
Right. And it's like your standard sloppy little like no one knows what they're doing kind of kiss. And we're not sitting on it because when you think about it, that'd be
yeah,
weird. Who wants to watch these kids making out and shit like that?
yeah,
Like,
and
no,
then
thank you.
you see Ron in that one crazy chick,
Oh yeah.
and then you see um Harry and Jenny.
Yeah. I mean but
I
it's
like that.
all in the background, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't have to sit there and it's not. I mean, the sixth movie kind of does this, in my opinion, and the book did it too. But you're not stopping your movie dead so that you can do like a little romance bit and then get back to the got to stop the bad guy plot. Like we are actually like weaving it in to where it's part of everything. But at the same time, I'm not sitting there watching Harry go, "Oh my god, I gotta save Jenny." Like by the eighth movie, like we're kind of clearly showing like she can handle it herself. We don't need this constant. It's like in episode 7 when Finn keeps trying to save Ray for like the whole movie, or at least the first half of the movie, and it's like, this is a fair point that I don't need told to me 5 times. Do it once, let's move on. And Harry Potter did that. They're like, Ginny's badass with these charms and shit. Cool. Like, I don't need any more. Like, she can handle herself. I don't need Harry trying to be all macho. Like, he's
yeah.
a smart guy. He knows how to fucking deal with this shit.
And the sixth movie was really cool because Jenny's like strong, but when she's getting taken on like 4 against 1, of course Harry's going to jump in, and then Lupin, and then Ron's dad or whoever. Like it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool seeing that. So it's like teamwork.
Yeah. And that's what I think is nice about Harry Potter is it's not you don't necessarily always have like a damsel in distress or you have the smart character like solving all the problems. Like the first couple books in movies, it's like Hermione sort of saves the day, kind of. Like the first one she does, and the second one it's all Harry and Ron. They still get help from Hermione, even though she's kind of out of the picture. Like we are showing that everyone can do different things. So it's not just one person who is like Ron is not the dumb friend all the time, and Harry is not the leader friend all the time, and Hermione is not the smart one all the time. Like especially in 4, because you see Hermione get just as swept up in hormones and emotion as everybody else. Like she gets just as mad at Ron and them, and she's going after as Ron gets mad at her for going with the Quidditch dude. And like you get these thankfully short but like emotional moments where it's like these are people. And I think that's what I like about Harry Potter is it's showing you people, kids or adults or whatever. And Fantastic Beasts is doing this too, where I'm not having to sit there and go, all right, I'm watching, the hero do the thing. I'm watching a person do a bunch of different things, trying and sometimes failing to save the day. And that's cool. Like, I don't know. It just it I think resonates more and makes these more lasting than something like, say, the Marvel movies. Cause like I couldn't tell you what happens in like half of them anymore. Like I can tell you how it affects the whole plot, but I can't remember like shit about post Iron Man 3. I don't really remember too much. Except for the ones I really liked.
Yeah,
Places
no.
in space.
So wouldn't you say that Harry Potter is like the most consistent franchise that we got right now?
Yeah. I think without much doubt, I would say Harry Potter's, I think, yeah, the most consistent franchise. 'Cause we just talked about Jurassic Park. That's changed.
They don't even know
Marvel's
what
all
they
over the place.
Marvel's
Star
all over the place.
Yeah, I'm again, I rag on them all the time and I probably shouldn't, but it's just there's so many of these movies, and it's like when you have that many movies, it's impressive that you get them all to jive together, and that's kind of where it stops for me. Um, it's just like, yeah, okay, cool, but at the end of the day, it's not hard to make 22 of the same exact movie fit because it's all just the same movie. But and then Star Wars obviously is very like polarizing. You have people liking different parts of it, and it is all what it is. But I think Harry Potter is just one of those things where people are just like, their worst ones are maybe the Fantastic Beasts movies, but it's no one looks at it and goes, I stopped watching. I mean, at least no one I've heard of anyway has gone, I stopped watching them because I can't stand those Fantastic Beasts movies. They ruined the history of the franchise and da, da, da. It's like, I mean, I don't
Well,
know.
I get it, but also, again, I'm not hearing that either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love them. I mean, I saw the first one in theaters with my girlfriend. She's a huge Harry Potter fan as well, and we've definitely bonded over that the past 4 years. So, I mean, my dad got me into Harry Potter. Uh,
Yeah.
he read all the books, and when I was a kid, he would tell me about them and show me the movies and all that. And um, like we've bonded over that as well, and we saw them in theaters, and he likes them too. So it's a fun time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always think back to like when because I grew up like with the books, coming out. I remember there were times
Yeah,
where there was only three books and the fourth one came out, stuff like that. And I just remember like my mom, when she got the book for the first time for like me as a kid, she went to like the bookstore and was just like, my kids are getting older. They're still kind of young, but like they're not reading like picture books anymore. Like, but they want like more to it. What's something that they could read or I could read to them that like is more than just something like that?
yeah,
And it's just they were like, well, and the way that she tells it is always like the person at the bookstore goes, well, this book seems to be pretty popular with people. Here you go. And it was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So she bought like the first one, I think maybe the second one, I think it was out. And just like, no, it wasn't the second, it's just the first one. So she's like, okay, fine, like buys the first one and we're all reading it and it's like we're really into it. And then, second one comes out pretty soon after, third one soon after that. And then it became let's play the waiting game for like by that point, I'm reading all these books on my own. It's like, when's the fourth one coming out? When's the fifth one? And that's where it became like the event. So it's just kind of funny to go, yeah, this bookstore owner was like, these books seem to be a pretty big deal. I don't know, people buy them, and it's just like, here you go, and then all of a sudden, it's this global phenomenon of just like Harry Potter. But it's fun. It's fun to like grow up with that. Um, just because
yeah.
I don't know.
It was one of those things where it wasn't really too popular when it first came out, and then when the first movie was there, it was like, wow, this is really really cool.
I
Kill,
remember being like a hipster when that happened because I was like,
yeah.
I know what this is before I thought it was cool before everyone saw the movie. So like third grade or some shit like that.
Well, the only movie I haven't seen in theaters was the first one because
Mm,
growing up, my grandma didn't really like approve of it,
mm.
even though my dad was just like, who fucking cares? Like, and
Yeah.
then he showed me, and I was like, he showed me the movie. We went to Walmart and bought it. And after I saw the first movie, I was like, whoa! I was like, this is fucking cool. Like, I want more of this. I want to go to Diagon Alley. I want to go to Gringotts, and
Mhm.
I want to be a wizard and have a broom and all this stuff. And then, I mean, I got into it. Then the second movie came out, and I saw that in theaters. That was the first one I got to see in theaters, and it was just so cool seeing everybody, all the same characters back again, and being able to relate to all of them. And it was so much fun. And not too many people were even into that. Like, as far as I know, I don't remember too many people being like, Harry Potter is the best thing. Like, I don't think it was until the fourth one to where people were just like, oh, this is fucking great.
Yeah, that's what I remember too. Because I remember going and seeing the first one when it came out. Because they were always came out around Thanksgiving or so, and like that's when we'd go see them was like around Thanksgiving. I
Yeah.
remember going and seeing the first one. There was like not a lot of people there, and everybody who was there, it was like somebody with their kids, and clearly like they were like me, like their kid had read the book or something like that, and it was like I want to go see this movie. This is gonna be so cool. And then yeah, probably by the 3rd or 4th one, it was at that point, like, this theater is packed full of people, like, holy crap.
I think it was the third one to where people like started really jumping on the train
Mhm.
because they got the new director and it was a new feel and everyone was like, fuck yeah. Like, had this huge, like, had this huge, like, outpour of people to the theater. And then when the fourth one came out, holy crap. Like,
Yeah.
that was the talk of the town. And then, like, everyone was like, Voldemort this, Voldemort that.
Mhm.
And Harry Potter Puppet Pals came out.
That's right. No, I think those and that's an interesting point you bring up is, like, the movies have done a really good job growing up with their audience.
Hmm.
Um, just in the sense that, like, yeah, we do get a huge tonal shift after the first 2 movies where it's like, "Okay, we're gonna make this a bit more mature." And, like, that's kinda cool. Like, because, growing up, you're like, okay, 1 and 2 are like whimsical little kid movies, sort of. And then, you know, you move into the 3rd movie and you're kinda like, aren't we supposed to do we really wanna make another, like, little kid movie? Like, a lot of these people are getting older. It's been a few years. So, like, what are we doing? And you do change the tone and it gets darker and darker. And I think someone did that side by side with all the Warner Brothers logos or whatever from each movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that,
No,
where
I
it's
have.
like they just get progressively more and more corroded and darker. It starts out nice bronze, like WB, and by the end, it's like this gray, rusty WB. And it's kind of like these movies get progressively darker as
Yeah,
they go.
that's cool.
And it shows in the coloring, like cinematically, they're doing a lot less like bright and warm colors. They're doing a lot of like cooler, darker, cooler color greens and shit like that. And it's like, yeah, this really changes the movie.
Yeah, you can tell like every time I'd see a movie in theaters for the first time, you'd watch that logo go by and you're like, whoa. And then by the time the last one goes by and you're like, damn, this is a very like somber feeling movie already.
Exactly how it I mean, that's how a mature movie or not mature movie, but that's how like a more complex movie ends, right? Is like it ends on a note where it's like it's not all happy and rainbows and sunshine. Like I think the weird little epilogue where they age everybody up is kind of funny because it's like they're all very somber with each other. Like they're all like, we all lived through this pretty shitty experience, but we're all past it now. And like,
We've survived it.
right. And
We're
but
all
you
here.
still
We're grateful for our families and everything.
and that's it, is you're a survivor.
Yeah, and it's time to like make sure they don't get into that.
Well, I think yeah, exactly. It's like let's build a better world for, our kids, but it's not like it's one of those like let's not forget what we actually had to deal with because I guess the way it presents is like there's no way you're just going to forget that. Like crazy shit happened and a lot of it was bad. I mean, you guys were tortured at various points in the movies. Like you don't just forget that and have a happy little life. Like you got to deal with it.
Yeah, you're like a hardened individual after all of it. And
Right.
especially like what was funny is you see Draco and you're just like,
And
damn, like he had to do all of that shit his dad wanted him to do, and he
right.
didn't. He didn't want any part of it. like you can tell like during the fourth movie, you can no, not even the fourth. Is he even in? Yeah, he is. You can tell in what the sixth.
I think it's whichever one he breaks Harry's nose when he's invisible on the train.
Yeah, you can kind of tell he doesn't really want any part of it because he kind of just wants Harry to leave him alone.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still in the back of his head. He's like, I still have to do this because my dad wants me to, and
Right.
it's kind of like my family thing. So he grew up with Voldemort. Like as weird as that sounds, like he grew up like is basically like Voldemort's kind of like his uncle, really.
Right. Voldemort is to Draco as Dumbledore is to Harry, right?
Yeah,
So it's like they're kind of two sides of the same coin. And I think that final epilogue scene kind of captures all of that because it's like him and Harry have this look at each other and they're not looking at each other like you're a piece of shit, I hate you. They're just looking at each other like I'm acknowledging like you're a person and we've all changed and like we had to deal with this experience. But even Draco is like still being a good parent to his kid, right? Like still seeing them off on the platform, not just dumping them at the train station or something. Like you're getting kind of this vibe of we all went through this shit. We were on different sides, but it's over. We can't forget it, but we can't let it like ruin our lives, right? Like we gotta be better people than all the people that fucked us up in the first place. So and they are, you know.
you can kind of tell that he's going to be a better parent than his father. Like
Exactly. It's like drawing on the mistakes of others to learn how to be better. Like that's kind of how we should all be, right? Like, you
in the
know,
last movie, you get to like actually see Draco and his mom and dad like
mhm,
fights kind of ensuing, and they're just like, "Fuck this, we're done with this war."
right.
And they go home, and it's like, wow, didn't really expect that. Like, but
No, you
like
don't.
you see Harry, like he saved Draco, and then his mom was like, "Did you save him? Is he safe?" And then he's like, "Yeah."
Mhm.
And then it's like, wow, we're really on the wrong side of things here.
Right. You get like such a and I think it's so because the books, you know, they start with this you have a dichotomy of like good and you have bad and there are good people and there are bad people and that's it. And by the end of the movies and the books, arguably, it's sort of like there is this like gray area, right? Like you have Dumbledore, who's kind of a mixed person, right? Like he's good when you see him in the books, but he has this history and it's not very great. And you have Voldemort, who's like was maybe a smart kid who just became progressively more and more evil. Like, you know, maybe he is evil the whole time or whatever. But the way it all kind of boils down is you have a lot of people who are just manipulated into being where they are, like Draco Malfoy. Like he had no real choice in the matter. Like if he disobeyed his dad, he probably would have been killed and like whatever. And I think at the end of everything, you kind of get, hey, everybody's just sort of a mixed bag of good things and bad things. And we got to, you know, like sort it out on our own and be the best person we can be. But we also can't forget, you know, the bad things because we don't want to do them or don't want them to happen again. And I think Malfoy is really the big embodiment of that because him being on that platform at the end is already more than his dad probably ever did for him, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can guarantee you that he had a house elf or someone just dropped that kid off and then was like, okay, see you later. Poof.
Yeah. Like, I don't think I was actually surprised to see him in like Diagon Alley in the second movie. Like looking back, and you're just like, wow, I'm surprised that Death Eater is just walking around, just doing his own thing. You
Well,
know?
when you got money.
Yeah, when you got money, you can break all the rules and do whatever the fuck you want.
I mean, if there's any low key thing, I don't know. I don't anymore, but you know, because she's got money, but who knows? I don't know. It seemed to be something, right? Is like Harry's because like Harry's rich and they kind of don't ever talk about that, which is sort of
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, like you completely forget after the first movie because he opens the Gringotts vault and he has all these coins just laying around.
Right.
It's like he basically pockets a bunch of it and he's just like, "We'll take
He
the whole
buys a bunch, yeah, he buys a bunch of sweets and then it's it.
thing." Like you don't see him really going out of his way to like buy a lot of cool stuff. Like he's got his wand, he got a
Mhm.
broom for free. He didn't even buy it. He just
That's the thing. Money's not really a thing for Harry, yet he has a shit ton of it for like no reason.
yeah, like he doesn't dress flashy. He just has normal clothes. he honestly he could get his own place if he wanted, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you see the money, he could honestly like move in with Hagrid or move in with the Weasleys or whatever.
Hmm.
And he has money, so he could like help them build their house up more or something.
Well, I think they do hit on that in the second book
But
when
he
he
has
runs into him.
but he has to live with his family
Right.
because
Right.
he has that protective thing around their house.
Hmm. But
So
I
then
think well, they hit on the class disparity, I guess you could say, between Harry and the Weasley. I think in the second book, they're like, or in the movie, they definitely do it. Is they're talking about how like, oh man, the books are going to be real expensive this year, and the mom's like, oh, we'll figure it out, and Harry's just like, damn. In the book, I remember very clearly Harry like, and then Harry thought how like he could very easily just pay for all the Weasleys shit and like barely blink an eye, and how that was like kind of unfair, but he doesn't because I guess in maybe true British fashion, like he was worried they might find that insulting, um, to have like a kid pay for all your family stuff, which some people would definitely find that insulting. I
yeah,
think.
I get that completely.
No, I definitely get being worried about it. Like I would be concerned about it, especially as a kid with a lot of money too. But yeah, I think that maybe JK wrote that in just in case like money ever came up again in the books, and it could just be like, well, Harry has a fuck ton of it, so who cares? But it just never became anything. Other question is, what did Harry's parents do?
His dad was an aura, and I
Okay,
forgot what his mom did.
okay, because that's a lot of fucking money. Like,
Well, yeah.
um,
Well, I mean, if you're basically a wizard police officer, essentially is what it is. Like, yeah. No, I wouldn't even say police officer.
it's like a secret agent almost.
Yeah, you're like a wizard agent, like a
Yeah, the
investigator.
FBI or something. Yeah.
That's what Mad Eye Moody was. He was an aura.
Hmm.
He just went out and killed dark wizards or
Yeah,
took
which
them
is
to jail or whatever.
pretty like I
That's
don't know.
cool.
It's cool, but it's also equally as brutal, right? Because now you're toying with like, okay, the Dark Wizards. Can you arrest these people? Like, I don't know. It just seems weird. Like you have Azkaban, and that seems to be it. And so it's like, oh, what
You
happens
have
if Azkaban? Cool.
the ministry.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about Azkaban for a minute. So yeah, I guess you could arrest them. But yeah, I just look at it and I'm like, man, that's a fuck ton of money. And then I gotta wonder, like, in the stupid like pushing it too far fashion, what's like the exchange rate between British pounds and wizard money? Because or Hermione can't possibly have any wizard money.
Well, she can if she goes to like Hogwarts and then goes to like the downtown area or whatever, or
That's what I'm talking about. Where's it coming from? She's got to exchange it with
Ron's
pounds.
parents.
What?
Ron's parents, maybe.
Well, see, and that's what I kind of wondering, right? Because like Hermione's parents probably are decently okay. Like they're dentists or orthodontists or whatever, right? So they're like not doing bad, but all their money's in British pounds.
They might have some sort of exchange rate for Muggle money. I
I
mean,
hope so. That just seems horrendously unfair for people for like a kid who's being thrust into this world and is not from magical parents.
yeah, that might be a thing. Maybe there's a spell that could take regular Muggle money
Oh,
and
you like alchemize it and turn it from like
yeah,
pounds to whatever galleons or
or maybe they have like this magical device that you like kind of roll the money through it and then it comes out on the other side as like magical money. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it would make sense though if you had like a weird exchange, right? Because like wizards still got to live in like London and shit. Like you need pounds. Like a wizard needs pounds, but a muggle doesn't need galleons and stuff.
Yeah.
You're not always gonna live in a magical neighborhood, right? Like
Yeah.
you
Well,
gotta buy a house and shit. You
I
can't
mean,
do that with gold,
Sirius Black had the one house
right?
that's kind of like inside another apartment complex, but it wasn't really there unless you did some magical thing to make it appear.
See, this is why I just want her to write a textbook about like this is how the
The
ins and
laws,
outs of like
physics,
this crap.
rules. Yeah, that'd be
Because
cool.
I think it'd be super interesting because it's just like I have so many questions about just because even this conversation, it's like, okay, well, for instance, does that weird, nested apartment count? does like are these people like citizens of Britain? Like, how does this work? Like, if I'm born into an all magical family in an all magical house in an all magical neighborhood, like, does the British government even know I exist? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Probably not,
Right.
considering you're so like there's so distance between the Muggle world, especially the government. Like if the government ever like wanted to intervene, there would be no way of them fighting them. Like
And that's the other thing
they,
too,
they
is
either
it
don't
just
they either don't know about the wizarding community or they do know like the high up like people in parliament
right.
would know, but they probably were just like, yeah, we're not going to touch that because they would just obliterate us completely.
I wonder if it's just like they have, in the case of like, Ron is born, is Ron counted as a British citizen or some shit? I'm kind of wondering like maybe it's just like they fake it, it's like this is
Or
our kid
they probably just
Ron.
hide it, really.
Do what?
They probably just hide it. Like
Yeah.
you know how people will be like, UFOs are a thing, I swear. That's probably the same way there. Or like in Men in Black, they're like
Yeah.
the regular people are just like, yeah, the Men in Black are real. I swear, I did all this research, but they don't know for sure. But everyone thinks they're crazy. Wizards are real. I saw a guy riding a broom. Yeah, you're just full of shit, Ron. Like, there's no fucking way that's real. I swear I saw it. They were riding down the fucking. They rode right by the Big Ben. It's like, no,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like I like half the people just think that all the little wizarding communities are like wacky ass communes. Like they're like, oh, those are them weird people. They never go to hospitals. They never go to the store. They're always just
Men in
hanging
Black.
out together.
It's like Men in Black. They cover their tracks really well.
I guess so.
Just like in Fantastic Beasts, like at the end of the movie, the whole fucking city saw this huge battle happen between Credence and Grindelwald and the Ministry and Newt, and everybody saw this whole battle like unfolding, and then at the end they make it rain. They make this spell go off in the sky. They make it rain, and then all the water makes everybody forget about what they saw.
Yeah, and that's always the one like good and bad thing in movies about magic is like whenever you need to explain something, you can just be like, it's magic. Fuck it. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. That's fine.
Well, same thing with Men in Black. It's like, oh, you just saw me take off this alien's head.
But I
Well,
have a little pen.
yeah, I'm gonna pull my magic pen out and flash it, and then you forget, and then I can tell you what you saw, and you believe it, like a mind trick. It's like okay, like
Yeah, it makes it easy. I mean, technology can be your magic, magic can be your magic. Like, pick one, just do it. It's good and it's bad. I mean, it helps to hide sloppier things, but you know,
at the end, I mean, it adds to the world, and it adds to just adds to it. Really, I mean, there's not really anything else I can say about it. It's just like it's an extra thing that just it just happens to be a thing. I don't know.
yeah, no, it's a thing in the world. It works.
Flare X, what's up, brother? Sorry, I didn't get to your comment earlier, but yeah, Flare X says, never got into Harry Pothead. It was a generational thing. Yeah,
For sure.
I don't know how old you are, Flare X, but yeah, I mean, I'm 25 and Thomas is 26, so we grew up with it for sure. But again, it's a generational thing, but it's also not because I mean, my dad's 55 and he loves Harry Potter and he got into it. So, I mean, it's a generational thing, but a lot of people grew up with it and followed it. So, but it's all fun and games, man. It's just
No, I mean, you can like what you want to like,
yeah,
but I
uh,
agree. I think I agree though.
yeah,
It's pretty generational. Like, I don't see like peak Harry Potter fanatics who are like 45.
yeah. People older than our parents definitely aren't into it.
Sure. But I mean, like, people, I guess, nowadays, as old as in their 30s, maybe, are like, they can be really, really into this. And that's just because they grew up with it at some point in their lives. Not trying to say Flare X, you're like 45 or something. I don't know how old you are. I'm not trying to make you sound old, but, no, like, it is, I agree. It's clearly, I think it's very much a generational thing. I think people like our parents who read the book can go, yeah, these were enjoyable or whatever. But it boils down to like, who is this media written for? And in the case of Harry Potter, it was written for kids who were between like ages like 7 to 12 or whatever. So like if you're in that age group when it came out, like you're going to like this book because it's written for you. Doesn't mean other people can't, but it definitely means that, you know, it's not for you. Like there are going to be parts where you're not like taking you're not relating to it as much because you're not a kid living in 1997 or whenever they started coming out.
Yeah. And I like this comment right here. He says they went back to what the books were originally, very much not a kid's series. And I think that goes hand in hand with Star Wars in a lot of ways. And a lot of these franchises, we can nitpick at them, and we're always jumping back and forth and comparing them. And a lot of them are very similar. But in this case, I agree with this comment 100%. It's not a kids series, but it's a series that kids can get into, kids can enjoy. I think it's appropriate for kids, but overall, it has so many adult themes in it, and it has so many things that adults are going to be into.
Mm.
Like people always say Star Wars is for kids. I'm like, it's not really for kids. It's more of like a family thing, but it's definitely more of a thing that's for adults and
I don't know
for
about more for
and
adult. I think Star Wars is just Star Wars. Like it's just a movie that anybody can like. At least the original when it came out, it's like here's a
say,
movie.
but it's not like this is for kids. It's like
No,
I
no,
think
no.
burning Aunt Beru and Uncle whatever, like I don't think seeing their burnt corpses in a desert after getting in a firefight and chopping off some guy's arm is for kids. That's definitely not the case. Like, so you got to take in consideration, like, Harry Potter is not really strictly for kids, but it can be. But it's more of it's just a cool franchise. I don't really know how to explain it. It's for everyone.
Star Wars or Harry Potter?
Well, both.
Yeah, I think with Star Wars is it's a product more of its time and like here's a movie. Like it's just a movie. It's not a kids movie because kids movies were very clearly kids movies at the time. Whereas this is just a movie. It's kind of like
Yeah,
Back to the Future. Like it's just a movie. You don't have to be Marty's age to like it. You don't have to be Doc Brown's age to like it. It's just a movie.
exactly. And
Um,
it can speak to everybody. It's not
right.
like a kids movie when you see it. Like I watched the yesterday I watched the Lego Movie 2.
Mm,
That shit's for kids. But it's a movie that anybody can like. I like the movie,
yeah.
and there's a lot of good lessons for kids in the movie, and there's a lot of good things for adults in the movie. A lot of jokes and a lot of other things that they're teaching kids, but also you look at it as an adult from an adult's perspective, and you're like, "Damn, this is like really deep for a kids movie. Like anybody can
No, there
enjoy
are
it."
definitely like I like how kids movies are actually dealing with like themes as opposed to just um like here's a movie like mindless clowning around and dicking around or something. And I think it's nice when movies do that.
It is.
What's cool about Harry Potter, I think, is that you're right. The books were originally very much not a kids series, but I think what's so cool about them is they were wrapped up in a package that is a kids series. Like especially the movies are like very visually and very like they're delivered to you like this is a kids movie, but we're talking about some serious shit. We're talking about this orphaned kid and like he's abused at home. We're talking about like these very like horrible things this evil dark lord has done and how this kid is now has to have like basically the weight of the world or at least the country on his shoulders to deal with this. And like these are not things you necessarily expect in a kid's book or kids movie so much as like, a kid who maybe faces minor adversity and overcomes it and becomes a hero or whatever. But this is like something it's like a present that's all shiny and as you're unwrapping it, it's darker and darker and darker and you're getting to this point by the end of it where it's not a kids movie anymore. It's a dark, dealing with this very heavy shit. And I think that's what's so brilliant about this series as a whole that a lot of other series, I mean, like you can look at Stars, you can look at Jurassic Park like we did, and we're, nitpicking or we're picking through like what's good and what's bad. And a lot of it is in hindsight of this new movie. Harry Potter, even with the hindsight, it almost makes it better because it's really well constructed. Like you are taking apart this shiny, awesome thing and finding that it's not so awesome at its core. It just looked that way when you started it. But you're okay with it because it grows, you grow, and you get something really heavy. And that's what's really, really brilliant about these books, I think, and this movie series is that you're doing this. It's not a kid's series when it starts, but it looks and feels and reads like a kid's book. But by the time you're done, it's not. And it doesn't feel like a kid's book anymore.
No.
And you're just kind of like, but you don't realize it's happening. You're following the growth of the story. You're not thinking about, oh, it's different. I don't like it because it's different, or this one is, I like this one better than that one because, it seemed really heavy. This one, it was really dark, but it's like it progressively dials that darkness shader kind of up to where you're finally left with like, this is something dark, but I'm okay with that because I'm all in for it. And it's nice. I wish more series did stuff like that. Like if you're gonna have something last 10, 20 years, just make it grow with your audience in a reasonable way.
Yeah, most kids' books aren't really that big. And then when you look at the Harry Potter books and you're like, wow, like those are pretty big books. Like that's a kid's book for real. Then once you get to the
Mhm.
once you get to the fourth book and you're like, holy fuck, like
Oh, and
and
that's where it
that's
really takes a
and
turn.
you're just like, wow, like and if you look into the movie, if you actually read the books, there's way more in the books than there are in the movies. And you look at the stuff that they didn't put in the movies and you're like, wow, this is like crazy.
Yeah. No,
It's just
it's heavy. It's nice because it's rewarding to watch.
and that's the thing. I think that movies like this, they're timeless. Like you take movies that are for everybody, and that's what makes a good movie.
Mhm.
Now you're gonna have your movies that have more adult things in there, but I think movies that are mature enough but are also for everybody, those are going to be timeless movies. Now, obviously, you're going to have certain movies that are just like super not for kids, but
Yeah.
and those are going to be timeless too. But I think we need more movies that are going to be very well written, like Harry Potter, very well progressed, like Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts, but they can be made for everybody. And I think if they actually write movies and be consistent, like Harry Potter and like how J.K. Rowling has been doing, I think we're going to be having good movies. But as far as just franchises go, everybody tries to be like Marvel, and Harry
Right.
Potter has strayed away from being just that.
Well, it's nice because it happened before it. And that's what's
Yeah,
really great about it,
yeah,
is it's like one of the last few franchises where it was like, here's a pre-Marvel franchise. Enjoy it. This is what it's gonna be. And instead, nowadays we have everything's trying to be a flashy nothing, and it's just like, ugh,
yeah. It's all style with no
yeah.
substance.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I saw something the other day where it was somebody arguing because they're like, a lot of people always want to go, oh my God, the Marvel movies have like such beautiful cinematography. And it's like the cinematography in these movies is pretty mediocre. Like it's not great. They're not doing like really cool camera shots. It just looks really flashy.
Hmm.
Or a lot of the time it's just CGI nothing. And it's kind of like, that's not good cinematography. That's just flash. And like you said, a lot of it doesn't have any substance. I mean, when you're dealing with like, we got to save half the universe, it's like, am I going to give a shit about anything else after this is over? Because you just ramped it all the way up to the universe. Anything more than this, I kind of don't care. And Harry Potter, as much as it confuses me sometimes to think about, is pretty limited. Like, it could still have grown, kind of like how Fantastic Beasts is, right? Like, we're kind of expanding to the universe or to the planet. I'm sorry. Like, we're kind of going global with it, and it works because Harry Potter was really focused on the school, if arguably maybe the country. And like that was nice because the scale is digestible, it's reasonable, it's not so overblown that the stakes are just to the point where I just
Yeah, they don't really start expanding the stakes and expanding everything until like later on towards the end. But you get time to you get time to find out more about not just the main characters and the supporting characters, but you get to see more of the students, you get to see the school. And the cool thing about Harry Potter is that you can take a tiny little, like a tent that you take for camping, and you can go inside that tent, and then it would be like a mansion inside. So to see Hogwarts, which is a castle, it's already pretty big, but inside it's even bigger than that. And it's like a world inside a castle. So you get to see
Right.
more of that. And you're still at this small scale, so to say, like you're not traveling all over the place, but you're in this school and there's so much to tell you about and to show you inside this school. And even on campus, just like right outside the castle, like even in the woods and at the Quidditch field and all that, you get to see all this cool stuff and digest it. And then
Mhm.
later on towards the end, once shit starts hitting the fan, then you get to kind of go around the place, go across the countryside and go into the city and
Yeah.
see a little bit more. And you still, by then, you know so much about Hogwarts already that you feel like you've attended there yourself.
Mhm.
Now we're at the point of Fantastic Beasts where you're going across New York, you're going to the American Ministry, you're spending a lot of time in there for the, well, you spend a decent amount of time, I would say, but you get to see England, um, you get to see New York, you get to see the Ministry of Magic in America, and you get to see the Ministry in England as well during the Harry Potter movies. So they keep expanding this whole thing, and it's cool. You get to see more and more, and you're also in France actually in the new Grindelwald movie, so which is really cool there.
Yeah, I think it's Hogwarts is the training wheels, and by the final book, last 2 movies, training wheels are off,
Yeah,
and you don't need them anymore, and then by the time you get to Fantastic Beasts, you're starting to ride in races or whatever, like, you're riding your bike, you're fine, and I think you point out something really interesting is, like, the world grows with the characters and with the readers, is, like, as the characters get older and more mature, as the readers get older and more mature, we're dealing with more and more of the world. Just like as you're growing up, you're not just dealing with school and home, you're dealing with friends, you're dealing with things that your parents say aren't involved in. Like you're going to movies with friends, you're starting to do things where it's not your mom taking you and your friends to do something and hanging out with you guys the whole day. It's I'm dropping you off at the mall, see you later, have fun, I'll pick you up at 5. And it's then you're dealing with I can drive now, so I'm going to go do this on my own, and eventually you're dealing with I don't live at home anymore, I'm doing whatever I want. And these movies now with the Fantastic Beasts movies really seem to have grown and paced themselves pretty well with that, I think. Is by Fantastic Beasts, your main readership, your main viewership is at that age where we're all living on our own. We're not living at home, and if we are, it's not in the same way as it was when we were, 10. So it's like that sense of autonomy and that sense of being a small fish in a really, really big pond is definitely present. And I think that it's cool that they've grown and it's done it in such a way where it's still relatable by the end. I also totally agree with this comment, FlareX. Like I can't agree with that enough. I think I would add into it that it's also really good across time. Like I've watched some old movies recently, like shameless plug for my podcast. The previous episode to this week's, we did Citizen Kane, which is from like the 40s and takes place in like the 30s mostly. I mean, not a lot of people are living from back then, but it's just like I could still really relate to some of the stuff they're talking about in this movie because it's still relatable today. And that, at the very least, is like this is what can make a movie a good movie is because it kind of transcends like this isn't just the year 2009 where we're dealing with cat memes and shit. It's like, no, we're going to talk about themes that like anybody from any time can relate to. And you can watch this movie in 4 years or 40 years and you'll still get something out of it.
amen to that. Yeah, if you can look back and see a movie that was made during your, when your parents were growing up or when your grandparents were growing up, and you get to see the consistency in humanity from decades ago till now. So you can relate to that. versus I'm going to make a emoji movie. Well, the fuck is an emoji?
I mean, yeah, if you want a movie that'll definitely solidify itself in a time, like really giving itself a good timestamp, the Emoji Movie is probably one of them.
Yeah, it's just like I said, Harry Potter's going to be dealing with, it deals with adult themes, it deals with kid themes
Mm-hmm.
because there's stuff that I related to when I was a kid. I
Well,
was
it's
like,
just
oh
with
wow,
growing up, right? And growing up at all aspects, whether you're 20 or you're 10 or you're 30, it's like these movies and the books for the most part really like hit all those points. Like I can
yeah,
relate to it in my like mid to late 20s still with shit they're talking about because I'm like I'm dealing with that right now. Whereas when I was 10, I could still relate to it because I was dealing with shit they were talking about.
yeah. No, it's definitely. I mean, I give Harry Potter all of the credit. Like J.K. Rowling, I mean, they've done such a great job with it, and I mean, knock on wood, but I
Mhm.
mean, this is the franchise that hasn't been really tampered with too much. So I'm very, very glad that they're making more stuff. I hope the whole Johnny Depp thing clears up soon because I'm really tired of. I mean, they were supposed to start production in January for the new Fantastic Beasts movie,
Mhm.
and they should have started earlier. But I think because of the Johnny Depp thing is why they held off on it. We were talking off air
Yeah.
that um, I met Dan Fogler, the guy that plays Kowalski in the new movies, and this was back in May of last year. And he's like, "We start production in January of 2020," and I go, "What?" I'm like, "That late?"
Well, it
Well,
looks like
shit.
they did change. So they were about to start doing principal photography, like I don't know, a week. Well, I got an article up right now. I just found that it maybe back in yeah. So here it is. So this article was in March 2026. So about a month ago, a little less than
Okay.
a month ago.
Yeah.
Folger confirmed that it's on hold because of Corona, but that it was supposed to start up. So maybe this Johnny Depp stuff subsided enough for them to go, hey, let's get started. And then, in about mid March, we're going to start doing principal photography. And then all of a sudden it was like Corona. And it's like, well, fuck. So now they're on hold because of the pandemic. But the end of the article talks about just the characters and his career. But the end of the article, it does say Fantastic Beasts is still slated for November 12th of 2021. So, you know,
Hey,
here's hoping it actually happens.
hey. I mean, it doesn't take too long to make movies these days. So
Yeah, well, I don't mind it if they
as long as it
take
used to. Now,
their time.
now I'm all for them taking their time, but um, I'm so excited for the next one.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious. It's gonna. I think this next one's gonna be the make or break for me.
Yeah,
It's either gonna nicely settle some stuff and concerns I had with that second one where it started, is this Dumbledore thing jumping the shark or not? You're going to have to take your next movie to make it feel one way or the other.
I don't think it is. I think Dumbledore is such a untackled character, even though he was in all of the Harry Potter movies.
Mhm.
I think there's just so much more to him than just the principal of the
Right.
school that it's cool seeing him dealing with stuff earlier on in his life. There was more to him than just being a principal and then trying to mentor Harry.
Right, right.
There's also the Order of the Phoenix that never really got tackled that I'm hoping they actually make movies or TV show about. I personally would like a TV
Yeah.
show about the Order of the Phoenix just so you can tackle different characters. You can see Harry's parents fight and go against Voldemort and his army. You can
I mean, I
see
legit wouldn't
Neville's
be
parents.
surprised
You can
if
see Sirius Black and Voldemort. You can see Snape being undercover. So
I wouldn't be surprised if like we see that in these whatever 6 movies or something cuz when you think about like I guess I'm just kind of curious cuz like Harry Potter takes place primarily in the 1990s. Like it's the book is not in the 2000s like the movies are.
yeah, the movies are definitely in the 2000s.
Well, and I mean like are they though? Cuz the movies do a really good job like not having a time stamp on them except for that last one when they're walking around the city.
So the
Like they
first
do a
so
good
the
job.
first movie, you see him getting into the minivan, and
Oh, that's true. You do
you
have
see
some
them going to the
cars. Yeah,
zoo,
that's true.
the types of clothes they wear. So you
That's a
get
good
that.
point. I
And the
didn't think
third
about the
one where
costume. Yeah.
he's the third movie where he gets on the bus, he's driving around town. You can see the cars, you can see
Hmm.
everything. When he's walking around outside waiting for the bus, you can see kind of how everything is and laid out. Like
Right.
it's definitely in the 2000s, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it takes place in the 90s, so you can
So I
see
guess
everything leading up to it.
my point is like, let's run down the quick timeline. Is like if Harry's parents die when they're in, say, like their early 30s, right? That what is 30 years. So like 30. Let's say they die when they're like 32. If the events of the book start in 97 or something, then like 32 years before 1997 is what? Like 19 shit 45. So like they're born in 45.
Yeah, I guess.
So you're born like right after World War II, which is right after the peak events of this series. So we hit Dumbledore after all this shit happens, starts up Order of the Phoenix to kind of fix everything up. And then boom, you got, you can segue into like your 60s and 70s being, hey, we got the Order of the Phoenix going on, you know? But I mean, you can
I
easily
kind of
segue.
hope. Now I know wizards age differently than regular muggles, just because of the magical aspect of them. Like
Yeah.
Dumbledore is like really old in the Harry Potter movies, but he's a wizard,
Yeah,
and he's
that was always weird to me.
and you're also at the level of like power that Dumbledore is,
Hmm.
kind of like Gandalf, I would say. Not the same thing because Gandalf's like a god, but
Gandalf's like not a human, so it's
yeah,
different. Yeah.
but I mean, similarly, you see that if they're magical, they age differently. Like Nicholas Flamel.
Well, he's got that elixir stuff. I don't count him.
Yeah, but still. But anyways, but you get it. Like they age a little differently. Um, I don't know. I hope I hope everything in the movies line up because
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to have like a weird I don't want another Hobbit movie
I don't
series.
want another X-Men scenario is what I don't
Oh
want.
God. We'll talk about that later. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
that's for another time, but for sure, like I think that is a very solid testament to, hey, this is how you don't start doing prequel things because now you're like royally fucked. Your movie started in 1999 and ended in like 1993, and everybody still looks like babies, even though they were adults it doesn't make any sense anymore, you know?
The 60s.
Hmm?
Flare X said
Oh,
the 60s.
the 60s. Yeah.
We'll see. I'm excited for more movies. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like we
I'm
said,
idiot.
it's the one franchise that hasn't really been fucked with. So
Thank you, Flarex. My brain said 60 and my mouth said 40s, and I don't know why. But yeah, no. Um, I'm curious to see what's going to happen too. Like Fantastic Beasts, like I said, this is going to be the make or break for me. Like if it makes it, it makes it, and I'm all in. If it breaks it, I'm going to be kind of on the fence, like I am with Jurassic Park or World or whatever.
I don't think anything is going to be as bad as Fallen Kingdom, but
Hey, you
hey,
never
I
know.
mean, you never know. I think the next movie is going to be really cool, and it's going to be a lot more serious and a lot more sad because you know what's her face
Hmm.
dies by Grindelwald. Newt's super sad, and Queenie got taken by Grindelwald, and um, Kowalski just lost his like fiance,
Oh yeah, I completely forgot that
and
complete character
Kowalski
change.
and Kowalski isn't magical. He's not a wizard, so he can't do shit. So he
No, and
basically
I
is
love
just
that.
along for the
Yeah.
ride and just taking punches. Really,
Well, and that's what I like about. I mean, I guess another thing to add into the growing and stuff is like Kowalski. I was really worried in this movie because clearly it's like this is a fan favorite character, and audiences didn't like that he wasn't in it, so we put him back in, and it feels that way pretty hard in the movie to me. It's not like super detrimental, but it is a little haphazardly written. in the beginning. But I think like you bring up a really interesting point is like we could really explore this character more as in like he's powerless in a world of basically superheroes. Like and yet he's stuck dealing with the repercussions, but he can't do shit about it.
I think what they're going to do, and I think what Newt could do for him, is equipped him with certain like magical creatures, like that little flying snake
Mhm.
thing that just takes out a bunch of ministry wizards. Like he could give him that to hold on to help him out. He could give him a little tree guy, little leaf bug thing that hangs out on his coat.
Mhm.
Like he could give him some magical stuff like potions and things that could help him that won't really make him a wizard, but he can still somewhat hold his own instead of just carrying around a fucking cupcake or a bucket like in this picture. Like
Yeah. Well, I think it's what happens if a person brings a gun into this scenario? You know, like we really don't touch on like a
yeah,
muggle getting violent in the
he
wizard
was in
world,
World War I.
right? And that's the thing is, it's like he's capable enough.
Yeah,
So
he could
like,
fight, just
but
not
it's like
like
that's an interesting thing to tackle, right? Is like, how do you deal with this? Like, you now have this thing they're all terrified of is the muggles deciding they want to kill all the wizards and horrendously outnumbering them, and they have all these weapons that the seems like the wizards can't exactly handle. You know, are we going to have to maybe take that evil step or that step towards the dark side, as it were, and let him get violent the muggle way and take these people out? Or are we going to see him maybe like, you know, I'm going to kill him or something like that? And like he is going to kill him with a gun, not some magical flash of light. And like we have to deal with the weight of that because it's a lot more real. You know, shooting a laser or a spell at somebody is you know, there's a like a degree of separation between shooting somebody that weighs a little bit more heavy because it's like this is a lot more realistic than a laser blast or a magical spell. Like this is some shit. You want to shoot this guy, like that's a lot. And I'm curious if this movie's gonna effectively deal with that. And it would give him something to do, right? Like he has to make that decision.
well, hey, we'll see. I mean,
Definitely.
I think Kowalski's written up for a lot of potential, and I mean, if we get a good character arc, continue it. I mean, I think he's on a good arc so far, but I think just continuing the good story between. I'll go ahead and share this picture real quick. So, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I
he's a
think we
very
gotta.
good character in him. I as weird as it is for him to still be in him, I'm happy that he's still in him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's he's like he's the one. It's like it's a new idea.
Yeah.
Like the whole series of Harry Potter, it's like don't let Muggles see you. But
Mhm.
here's a Muggle. Come on in, come hang out with us. So I think that's cool. But I think we'll end right there. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
um, but yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining the chat. Sal, Pete, and Flair X. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I really appreciate it. Um, so we're going to be coming out with another episode of Quaranstream 4 later on during the week. I'll figure out with you, Thomas, when a
Yeah,
good
sounds
day
good.
would be. I got a show on Thursday morning with one of my other buddies, Aaron. He'll be on here. We'll be talking baseball. So,
Oh,
um, so but you guys sit tight. We'll be coming out with another episode soon. And then me and Thomas, I guess, do you want to continue some Harry Potter chat, or we can cover some other stuff?
I
X
don't
Men.
know. Yeah, I mean, talking to X-Men, good and bad would be fun. I mean, I haven't
Oh
delved into those movies
man,
in a while because that's
I
the
think
problem is there's some of them are so good. X-Men 2 is so good, and then it's
X
just
Men
like,
1 and 2 are really good.
and then like they just, I don't know. It's like
Then
ups and downs.
the best one after that's, I
Days of
mean,
Future
Days
Past?
of Future Past is awesome.
I don't know. I hope I'm not alone in that, but we can
I
talk more
love that
about
one.
it for sure.
But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Catch us on Goober Brothers Entertainment tomorrow night. We will be doing another episode of The Boardroom with me, Pete, and Sal. So tune in for that at 8 o'clock or 8:30. I think it's 8:30. So get ready for that. And Thomas, what's going on with you and your podcast? I know you just came out with a Candyman episode. I was listening. I was
Yeah.
listening to that yesterday.
Oh, thanks. I'm scared to ask what you think. If I recall, I like Candyman. That
No,
was
I liked it so far. I was listening to it on my way to Bree's house.
no nice. Thank you. But yeah, so me and my wife running a podcast called So What Happens Next. You can find it wherever you get podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. We release our episodes like every Monday morning or so. So this week's episode is Candyman from 1981 with Tony Todd's like the original one. We didn't know they were actually making a remake of it or a reboot sequel thing of it until we were doing the episode. So I guess it's kind of applicable. Hopefully that movie comes out soon, and I don't know. I'm pretty hyped for it just because it's in Chicago. I didn't know this movie took place in Chicago until I watched it. It was like really interesting to see that the place in Chicago that they're talking about all this happening is now like crazy gentrified, and like houses there cost like upwards of $1 million. It's pretty wild. It's definitely not the place that they show in the movie anymore, which it's just yeah. So we talk about it all in the for two. It was a fun movie to do. But yeah, check it out. We got another episode coming next week. I'm on Willow from 1988. I think is when that
Oh,
movie came
cool.
out. Yeah, no, that was my first time seeing that one. I just remember one of our friends when we were growing up would always talk about it, yet we would never watch it, and I was always confused as to why. Um, but yeah, you want some fantasy elements before Lord of the Rings. Willow is definitely one to watch. But yeah, so that's next week. But yeah, check it out. Appreciate the feedback and just appreciate people checking out the show. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah,
Also,
yeah.
thanks, man, for checking it out on your way to
Oh
your
yeah,
girlfriend.
anytime, man. Yeah, it was cool. It was funny because you're just like, yeah, this actually took place in Chicago, and the last day of filming, a sniper took out the van. It's like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of like I try to always like preface a lot of those with like these are IMDb facts, so I question some of their validity, but yeah, I guess like there was some kind of issue with that. Listen to the episode if you want to hear more crazy facts about shooting Candyman or the shootings in Candyman.
Well, guys, go check out So What Happens Next, and check us out tomorrow night on Goober Brothers Entertainment right here for another episode of The Boardroom. So, I'm Cody, and this is Thomas,
Yep, and I'm Thomas.
and you're Thomas, and that'll be it for today. So, y'all take care. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yep. Thanks, guys.